It is fair to say it. The Bengals are all in. That and more right now on First Word.
Welcome to First Word, Cincinnati's only morning sports show, breaking down the biggest moments and the stories shaping Cincinnati sports with analysis that cuts through. First Word, setting the agenda in Cincinnati sports.
Welcome in to a hump day edition of First Word. I'm James Rapien. We'll hear from Jacob Tissot in a minute. We'll see if Marisa's mic works as we get going here. Yeah, we might have to keep her mic off today. Plenty to dive into. Sal Stewart, his walk-off home run. We'll see some from him. Dive into the Reds coming up in a bit. But let's be honest here. We got to talk Bengals, and we got to start with the news that broke yesterday, and it is very, very simple. Joe Burrow and the Bengals, well, they've made a lot of big moves this offseason, but I'm not sure there was one bigger or more surprising than what they did for the first time in team history on Tuesday, and that's restructuring Joe Burrow's contract. And it's one of those things that I thought, and you're like, oh, yeah, James Rapien's talked about that plenty. Yeah, we have. We've talked about it a ton here, whether it's on First Word, whether it's among the Bengals fan base over the past couple of years. Ever since he signed that contract extension in 2023, it's when will the Bengals restructure Joe Burrow's contract? When will they use that lever to create cap space to maximize their roster? Well, they did it yesterday. And it's one of the many, many moves that they've done this offseason to try to get back into Super Bowl contention. And Duke Tobin, the Bengals director of player personnel, he got laughed at in February. Let's be honest. He got laughed at. And at the Combine, when he was asked about going all in following an offseason where they added T.J. Slayton and Oren Burks as their big free agent additions following a disappointing 6-11 2025 campaign, the idea of going all in this comment, well, it did appear laughable.
So the question's on whether we're all in or not. I've been doing this a long time. I've never not been all in. We are all in. We are trying to get the best team possible with the resources we have. Last year we went all in. We signed over $400 million worth of contracts going all in. That's what we do. We want to be all in. We're trying to put the best roster together every year, and this year is no different.
The Bengals want to be all in. They're always all in. Duke said that, and guess what? Everybody laughed. I rolled my eyes. The idea that the Bengals were all in last year, well, it's just not the case. It's not true. They weren't all in. They could say it, and yeah, they paid T and they paid Jamar, and that was great. That wasn't all in. This is all in. Everything that they've done over the past 5 months, from re-signing Dalton Risner long before the Combine even ended. They agreed to that deal while most of the Bengals brass was in Indianapolis for the Combine. They signed it on March 1st, long before free agency started. Free agency opens, they sign the top safety in Brian Cook. They go get Boye Mafe, a pass rusher that's promising that should help them right away. And then they go another step and get a former Pro Bowl defensive tackle that should bolster their interior pass rush. They weren't done there. And yeah, they probably felt like at some point in that range that they were done and that was going to be it until Dexter Lawrence became available. Once that happened, they said, you know what, we're going to make the splash. We're going to go all in. We're going to make that big move that in the past we haven't made, that guys like Andrew Whitworth in the past have mentioned. Going all in, making that move does wonders for the locker room. And we've seen that from Joe Burrow's comments to just the energy around the building to what Orlando Brown Jr. and Ted Karras said last week on this show. The Bengals made that all-in move for Dexter Lawrence, and it changed how we view them. It changed how we viewed the defense. It changed how we viewed the offseason. And the one box that they hadn't checked, after all of those things, after a draft where they add Cassius Howe and Takario Davis, two guys that should be able to help, they bolster their offensive line, they go get Dexter Lawrence, they do all of these things. The last thing was restructuring Joe Burrow's contract. And that's exactly what they did on Tuesday. So I don't know how many games the Bengals are going to win this year. They should be really good. They should be a Super Bowl contender. What I do know is this is what all in looks like. This is what all in feels like. And the Bengals, we can say it, all in on 2026 and winning a Super Bowl this season following Joe Burrow's contract restructure. Here's one more. Duke Tobin on restructuring Joe Burrow's contract. He was asked about it after the draft in April.
Have you approached Joe Burrow about a restructure? Is that something you would do?
Oh, those are things that we're working through after the draft. And again, we've layered in challenges, but we're up to them. And we do it because we got the opportunity to add the right people and the right players. And those are challenges that the locker room isn't interested in. They're interested in having the best team possible. And that's what we're trying to give them, is the best team possible.
They want to field the best team possible, and I think that's what's interesting now is the fact that they free up $10 million. They restructure Joe Burrow's contract. They give themselves cap flexibility. His cap number drops to $38 million from $48 million this season. And it's much more reasonable to think, all right, well, this extension is going to get done, or this player could be signed. The path to adding to the roster or keeping promising young players that are on the roster became that much simpler. Let's dive in to this a bit more. Joe Burrow's contract restructure is certainly something that I did not have on my bingo card yesterday. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, full disclosure, I got the Cassius Howell news ahead of time. I didn't have the Joe Burrow news. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, they're really restructuring on June 9th Joe Burrow's contract.
Yeah, and this was really a non-starter for me in declaring them all in for this season if they didn't get this done. And adding Dexter Lawrence and adding Boy Mafe and adding Brian Cook, all of that is awesome and is certainly a huge step forward from what the Bengals have done in the offseason the last few years. But every other major quarterback extension was restructured months ago in the NFL. Dak Prescott, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, every single one on or close to the level of Joe Burrow that is trying to compete for a championship this year was restructured months ago. And obviously, I think a lot of us wanted Joe Burrow restructured months ago, but certainly not going to complain now. It's great that the Bengals took this step, and this is really the last thing that I needed to see in order for them to be considered all in. Would I still like for them to add? Absolutely. Does this open the door for extensions? For sure. But this is such a huge step for this organization to truly take a swing at winning a championship.
Huge step, first time they've done anything like this in a contract restructure. And to your point, we've been talking about this for months. Thought this might have happened a month or two, but at least it finally did happen. The one part that surprised me, you brought up those other quarterbacks, and just looking at the numbers, Burrow freed up about $10 million in cap space. I thought that was on a little bit of the low end, but Mahomes and Allen were right around there, freeing up about $11 million and $12 million. But it's the Lamar and the Dak ones that really stood out, where they freed up each over about $30 million. I thought the Bengals might have been closer to that number, just given the amount of contracts and extensions that we're hoping to see come through.
Yeah, and they could have restructured up to $19 million with where his contract was at. They go about halfway there. But man, oh man, I mean, we're talking about a Joe Burrow restructure, and I think it means a couple of... One, let's just start here. The Bengals aren't doing this just to be more cap-friendly. Like, we know the Bengals well. Like, it's very well. They're not going to say, all right, let's do something we've never done just to stand pat and just to be comfortable with where we're at from a cap standpoint. So something else is coming. There is another move that's going to drop. We can debate and discuss what it is and predict what it is, and we have time for that. But something else is definitely coming.
And it's not the Cassius Howell signing.
No.
I saw the order of those tweets. Some people...
Cassius was done for like 3 hours. Yeah.
Right, but I just saw a lot of people making that assumption that maybe the Bengals needed this cap space in order to sign Cassius Howell, and that just couldn't be further from the case. Two unassociated moves that just happened to happen in the same afternoon. But I think the first question here when they came in about halfway to that possible maximum restructure to Burrow was, is it enough for them to really take a big swing to add to this team? I think it definitely makes extensions more likely, but I think partially in my mind, if they were going to go make some kind of addition, maybe they do get closer to that maximum. But either way, even if it does make extensions more likely, a huge, huge win for the Bengals.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see just kind of how the chips fall here. Is it an extension? Is it going out and adding another piece? I know we talked about the linebacker room yesterday with Ben Baby. I know we'll have more of that talk later on this week too. But I would love to be, a fly on the wall in some of those meetings of why was the restructure done now and what is the intended, move post this restructure.
Yeah, maybe they're close on DJ Turner.
That'd be nice.
Maybe Agent Zero is going to get a couple zeros added to that contract of his. We are just getting started here on a hump day edition of First Word. Up next, the Reds. Well, the Reds, the losing streak is over, baby. We'll dive into that. We'll continue the Joe Burrow conversation and much, much more here on a Wednesday edition of First Word.
On the radio here in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati has always felt like home.
Right here on the Crown Network.
Out and about in Cincinnati, bringing you these stories that you need to hear in the Queen City.
So he then gets back into the States, and that's when he hooks up with the Skyline family.
They knew each other growing up.
Okay, yeah.
Down in downtown, and the Lambrinides family, it wasn't corporate, it was their family and their recipes. Asked my dad if he'd be interested, and he leapt at it. He couldn't wait. He jumped at the opportunity.
Yeah, well, he's chef by trade, like you said, and now this opportunity
Loved the product, loved the simplicity of the product, loved the speed, loved all of it.
That's got to make it a lot easier when you really have a specific, belief and an enjoyment of the product itself. That probably helps with the plan there.
We loved cooking and eating, and he loved that concept. He loves Skyline's concept.
Yeah. Does the actual process of it, like you said, the ease with which it's, it may be easier to get something on the plate in front of people versus other types of restaurants, that played a role for him?
The simplicity of our concept is really special.
Yeah, and that's what's really sort of helped it take root, I think, over the years, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have kids?
Yes.
Are they also, I'm always interested in talking with people involved in various levels of business, whether it's a family business or something that they're looking to pass on. I mean, the idea of stewardship plays a big role. How does that look with your kids? Are they looking to move into?
The youngest is graduating from Ohio State on Mother's Day.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. And he worked as an intern for a company in town and did not like office work.
Okay.
So he said, Dad, I think I want to do what you do. So he's going to be coming in at the ground level. You have to learn to crawl before you do the rest. So he will start and work with us and see where it takes him.
Well, I mean, that's how you came up, right? Being an 8-year-old wanting to follow Dad to work and
correct.
helping unload the trucks and everything.
Another rebound rundown update, this time for the Cincinnati Bearcats under first-year head coach Jared Calhoun coming over to Clifton from Utah State. And Jared Calhoun having to put together an entirely new roster this year for Cincinnati. Not a single returning player from last year's Bearcat team. Tylen Riley, the headline piece for this roster, a transfer in from Tulsa, the point guard of this group. Miles Colvin, a transfer from Wake Forest, somebody who has national championship game experience from his time at Purdue in that game against UConn. Tyler Tejada out of the CAA from Towson. Riley Allensbach from George Mason. Travion Carson, Jaden Hastings. Eric Mahaffey, the local product from Moeller. Spent his first year at Akron, now finds his way down to UC, plus 3 players who already have experience in Jared Calhoun's system from Utah State. That is a fantastic balance. You have to have a group that has played for a head coach before. Jared Calhoun has that. Much more coverage of the Bearcats on the Rebound Rundown. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to First Word. I'm James Rapien alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob smirking at me, Tissot. As we get rolling here, it is time to dive into the Cincinnati Reds. And for the first time in a while, since their miracle victory last week over the Royals, which is ridiculous that I'm saying it that way, but it's true, they found another way to get a big win, a late-night win in San Diego, snapping a 5-game losing streak. And this was very, very pleasant to wake up to. And while you slept, I'm sure you slept during this and you were sleeping and you're waking up and you're like, did the Reds snap the losing streak? They did, thanks to a bunch of guys. Sal Stewart, Blake Dunn coming up clutch in the 8th with a diving catch. Sal Stewart with the walk-off in the 11th.
Yeah, it's exactly what we wanted to see. Sal, a guy that was such a key piece of this team when they were hot early in the season, hitting a big-time home run there that we really haven't seen over the last month or so with those big-time hits. And then something flying under the radar because he wasn't as good overall last night, but a huge double late in the game from Eugenio Suarez, who has consistently struggled with the Reds so far this year. Yeah. So hopefully able to get back into form, but another great start for Chase Burns. 2 earned runs allowed, his 10th straight start, allowing 2 runs or less, not quite to the 6-inning threshold that we've been accustomed to getting him to, but 5 1/3 and a really, really good start for Burns, and picked up by the bullpen, which was nice to see for the first time in a while.
Yeah, those 10 straight starts with 2 or fewer runs allowed by Burns trails only Edison Volquez's 12 in 2008 by a Reds pitcher. He's just been phenomenal, and a lot of people were saying that's one of Burns' worst starts of the year, and the fact that he only gave up those 2 earned runs, but the runs that Burns did give up, those were the first that weren't allowed via a home run since April 28th. So he has just been so consistent in that way. It was great to see him on the mound again. But guys, I almost felt like a sigh of relief come over me when I saw that the Reds did pull out the win, because they almost gave it away again in the bottom of the 8th. A safety squeeze situation that the Padres put on, thankfully called back after ricocheted off of the bat twice. But otherwise, the runner would have been safe at home, and that probably would have been ball game. So it was just another one of those that it felt like a deja vu moment in the moment, and I'm really glad that the Reds found a way there in the 10th and 11th to score.
It is amazing, and you're completely right, but it is amazing that we're sitting here saying, oh, the Reds go down 1 run in the 8th inning and the game will be over. Which
Padres have one of the best closers in.
I know, absolutely, too, so. But it's as much of a comment on the Reds' offense and the faith in those bats and the bullpen for the Reds as anything else. So great that they were able to get that done.
We talked yesterday as the skid hit 5, and it was the small things. You got to do the small. That Blake Dunn catch is just, it's ginormous, of course, but the hustle, the speed, the finding a way to make a play on the ball, just to give yourself a chance and then to take advantage of that chance. And we're going to dive into Sal Stewart. He's the subject of today's poll question, so we will dive into that coming up. But here's Terry Francona after a much-needed win for the Reds, where they gain a game in the Central and snap a 5-game losing streak. Here's what Tito had to say afterward.
The moment you had the catch from Dunn, Maul, Maxwell coming in and getting his first save, that was quite the game.
It was actually a kind of sound kind of masochistic, but it was a fun game to be a part of. I mean, God, there was so much going on, and our guys there was a lot of frustration. You know, we left some runs out there early, but we didn't pay for it. You know, I mean, they kept playing. There was good energy, and I was really excited about that, because, man, when you're kind of getting beat up a little bit, you know, and then things don't go well, they just kept plugging, and that was good to see.
The game on the line, and that ball was in the air. Did you think that Blake Dunn was going to catch that ball?
You know what? I get your point, but he kind of wills himself. Like, I thought he had a chance to catch it. How's that? Because that would be unfair to say, yeah, you're going to catch it. But he kind of wills himself, and that was great play.
Is it great to just hear music in there at this point?
Yes, but I'm telling you, during the game, hearing it, like picking each other up, that helped me. There was we had Lodolo's volunteering to go out to the bullpen, things like that. Yeah. Those are things that kind of lift me a little bit.
Speaking of that bullpen, they've gone through hell the last month plus, and a game like today, what can you say about those guys?
Yeah, I was actually thrilled for everybody, because you're right, it's been tough sledding, and I know one game doesn't make our season. I'm well aware of that, but it's nice to be able to brag about them for a night, because they did a good job.
Especially Tony. I mean, he's a couple games in a row now.
He's got a big heart, man, and I know people You know, it's easy. I know the numbers, but he's very important.
Yeah, he's got to feel really good right now. You find a way to get a win. I do like the Nick Lodolo volunteering part of it because it's the culture.
Yeah.
It's not like guys are pointing fingers. They're trying to help. They're trying to find the solution. Sometimes the solution is a diving grab and a home run in the 11th that can jumpstart things. You never know.
Yeah, and Dunn has been great at the plate since he's been called up, but has been such an asset in the outfield.
Some are saying.
You are saying.
Best Dunn in Reds history.
There we go. I knew you'd get it off. As soon as I saw that.
I'm some.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that, I knew we would get one today at least.
Diving grab.
It's a great play.
Adam Dunn couldn't have done that.
You're probably right.
No, not the dot. Yeah, no. He's not doing that. No, he would have hit 4 long balls and it would have been fine. But
Dunn not yet qualified for a lot of advanced metrics, but he's trending in a direction to be an elite defender. 3 outs above average in fielding run value so far this season, and one of the fastest players in baseball at a 99th percentile sprint speed, faster than Ellie was even getting to when he was opening it up a little bit before that injury. So he has been a really great find for the Reds this year, and a lot of the success the Reds have found offensively and defensively, a lot of the players that have been big pieces for them so far this season weren't expected. So as those guys that were expected to be big pieces start to catch on, maybe there's something that you can hold on to here.
I hope so. And some of those guys, Suarez being one of them, before his 10th inning double, he was 3 for his last 38 under a .078 average. So hopefully he's starting to maybe find his swing again. And obviously having Sal Stewart come up with that huge home run there in the 11th as well, because the first 8 innings of this game, the Reds stranded at least 1 base runner in each of those innings. So again, they're getting runners on, they're getting hits, but they weren't finding a way to cash those runs in. So glad that they were able to come through in the 10th and 11th with 2 guys that you need to produce in this lineup.
Yeah, it's a huge win. I don't think we can overstate it. If we were to have talked about Chase Burns, 5 1/3, 2 earned, and they lose late, they lose in extras, would have just been another gut punch that this Reds team has had to deal with. Instead, 32 34, gain a game in the Central. And we'll see if they can win the series today. More Reds conversation coming your way in a bit. But Joe Burrow has restructured his contract. The Bengals restructuring his deal. To be clear, that's how I should phrase it, because there is a lot of, Joe Burrow should do this. The Bengals decided to do something they've never done in team history, which is restructure, and they restructured Joe Burrow's contract, saved $10 million in cap space, and you move those numbers around to give yourself more room to work with. It's good to be a Bengals fan right now, because I think that there are more moves coming because they decided to do something they've never done.
Exactly, and this is something we've been talking about in the First Word offices, is when was this going to happen? Because we felt like it was a necessity that they needed to do something, because there are so many extensions that we're hoping that happens, especially with DJ Turner, Dax Hill, Miles Murphy, but then also, are they going to add another piece to this locker room in some way? I would hope in the linebacker room in some capacity, but I'm glad this finally happened, that the news broke, that we got the deal restructured done, and yeah, it'll just be interesting to see kind of how the pieces all kind of fall into place now.
Yeah, that's been the conversation here for months, is when, not if. And I think over the last couple of weeks, some Bengals fans have maybe creeped over into the if category, just as we creep into June and the offseason progresses. But it's great to see the Bengals get this done, take the full step into all-in territory, and really go for a ring this year.
Yeah, I think the what's next is going to be so interesting.
For sure.
And as we move on, just this morning, I think there are people, they're going to do this. It might be a DJ Turner extension, Dax Hill extension. Maybe it's Miles Murphy or Chase Brown. Maybe it's a linebacker. Maybe it's one of the Bobbies that Marisa mentioned yesterday.
Ooh. Please.
Maybe it's both. Like
Both
you know,
Bobbies?
I think no, a Bobby and a DJ.
Man, that'd be great.
And I think that, given what we know about the Bengals, they wouldn't do this just to do it. Just to say, hey, see, we did this too. They don't really care if we're like, hey, they finally did something they've never done. No, they would do it for a reason. There would be a reason behind it. And so now I wonder how long it takes for the next shoe to drop. And here's why. The DJ Turner extension or the Dax Hill, most of those things come during training camp. Mm-hmm. Very rarely have they, my guy Jay Morrison looked this up, they've only signed 3 extensions since 2000 in June. Giovanni Bernard was the latest, but it's not like there's a lot of guys that they do business with now. Maybe that's the case. Maybe they're like, hey, we're close on DJ. Let's get this done now. Let's get Burrow done. Or maybe it's let's get Burrow done and now we can focus on what DJ looks like.
Yeah, about every single offseason in the past, I would have went with the historical Bengals calendar, but
can't do it.
Every step along the way in 2026, they've broken those norms. So maybe we should expect an extension in June.
That'd be great. Sign me up for an extension in June, so then you don't have to worry about it during training camp. But no, I think them getting this done helps open the door for some of those conversations to be had, maybe a little bit earlier. I'm hoping they're already ongoing, especially with DJ Turner. But we'll see where the two sides play out.
One other noteworthy thing, Dax Hill, DJ Turner, same agent. Whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, I think we can weigh during the show and in the coming days and weeks, depending on when a deal gets done, if a deal gets done with either guy. A deal did get done with Cassius Howe, the Bengals rookie, second-round pick, 41st overall. And this, man, drama-free is the way to be. After last year with Shamar Stewart and everything that went into that, you had the second-round picks, and Demetrius Knight was caught up in that, not signing because they wanted fully guaranteed deals. To get Cassius Howe done, extremely noteworthy. One, because I think he's going to be able to contribute in a big way. But two, the fact that you just avoid all the drama that you had to deal with last year. You get a guy who you're expecting to contribute, expecting to help your pass rush, and he signs on June 9th. Yes, and now all the picks from this draft class are signed, and it hit honestly the fact that he had been with the team and practicing, and it had been so long. I'll be honest, I kind of forgot that he was unsigned, just since he's been around, and there was no drama behind it, kind of last year what we saw with Shamar.
Yeah, and it wasn't just last year, obviously the most notable rookie holdout, but there's been distractions throughout the offseason for about as long as I can remember in the Joe Burrow era here in Cincinnati. So it's great that the Bengals have taken care of a lot of this early in the offseason, not just getting Howell done in the first weeks of June, but Orlando Brown's extension early this offseason, getting Reisner re-signed early this offseason, getting everything really ready to go, and everyone here ready to compete at the beginning of OTAs. I think it's just a great sign to show that not only did the front office do their job this offseason, but everyone is on the same page and ready to go this year, and I think that's really, really exciting. Cassius, they need you to be Cash and add to this pass rush for sure. And that's it. Like, this Bengals defense, because of Cassius, because of Dexter and Mafe and Jonathan Allen, like those additions, you're hoping that this defensive front is their identity. As good as Brian Cook could be and DJ Turner and Dax Hill, you need this defensive front to be the identity. And if it is, man, what a beautiful spot they will be in, because that pass rush is king. We know it. We've seen it the other way. If you get after Joe Burrow, it's really tough to live that way. You could make opposing quarterbacks uncomfortable. It's going to go a long way toward the Bengals getting back to the playoffs. Yeah, and I think a really exciting thing about the defensive line potentially being a strength is we've talked a lot about extending both of those dominant corners, how great Brian Cook is. Maybe the secondary and the defensive line can be a strength. And we're talking about a really good Bengals defense this year. Yeah, and it's refreshing that we're actually having this conversation, that there's a strength and a real positive on this defense, and it starts up front. And so it's nice to see, and hopefully it's something that we can see these younger guys come into form with Cassius Howell and Shamar Stewart and Miles Murphy even really taking strides in 2026. Let's continue while you slept with the latest on Brendan Sorsby. I'm not sure if you guys saw this from Pete Thamel last night, but the Big 12 athletic directors held a spirited call around midday with Commissioner Brett Yormark. And it's just the latest on Sorsby as he's, with the injunction, eligible for the 2026 season. I think we're going to continue to hear a bunch about this. Obviously, the NCAA is going to appeal and has appealed the decision. But again, as of now, June 10th, Sorsby on track to play this year. Basically, all the conversations we're hearing from different commissioners or schools or whoever speaking for the conferences at this point, everyone's on the same page. They're frustrated that this happened. They don't really understand how a waiver was granted, but they also don't really understand what they can do to fight back. I think that's what we're seeing right now is a lot of people trying to figure out what courses of action can even be taken against Texas Tech and Brendan Sorsby. From the NCAA down to athletic directors and individual conferences, we'll see what happens, but I think this story is really just beginning. Thamel reporting, he said that the call was the first in 3 expected steps by the Big 12 on potentially addressing the Sorsby situation. And it's unknown whether or not the league would say, hey, Brendan Sorsby can't play. But I think that's at least a talking point for the Big 12 right now as they kind of evaluate that. Absolutely. And something I brought up just a little bit in passing yesterday that has come up a little bit more is the NCAA, whether he's granted eligibility or not, has empirical rule over the postseason. So whether he plays or not, they can deem Texas Tech eligible or ineligible for the playoff or bowl games, whether he has a temporary restraining order or not. And what I wonder is if they say, hey,
if you do this and you're going to go down this path and he's eligible, and then this is what we're going to do. But you do it behind the scenes before it gets loud. I can't imagine. You mentioned fly on the wall with the Bengals earlier in the show. Fly on the wall with all of these discussions. I want all of this would be the ultimate soap opera, drama, reality TV show, whatever you want to. This is the Hard Knocks I really want.
Yeah, no question.
Oh my goodness, it would be must watch. The Stanley Cup has been must watch, and I turned it on during the third period last night, and it was 3-3, and it was the perfect time. And Carolina handled business. It is 2-2. Las Vegas, as hot as they are, Carolina is doing everything they can to handle business and hoist the Stanley Cup. 2-2 in a wild, wild victory.
It's been exciting to see, and as you see the score here, it's been electric, and it's just one of those. I'm hoping the series goes 7 games because NHL fans across the country deserve that. But the fact that they have combined for 33 goals here in just the first 4 games has just been unreal. It's tied for the 3rd most in a single Stanley Cup final.
Yeah. I love this because last night, it was 4-3 down the stretch. It was 3-3 when I turned it on in the third period. And the only reason this was a 2-goal deficit was because of an empty netter late. So it's been down the stretch, 5-4, 4-3, 5-4, which should have been 4-3. The empty netter changed it, but it's been as tight and as competitive of a Stanley Cup as you could ask for.
Absolutely, and Jordan Staal, what a playoffs it's been for him so far. He's the first player age 37 or older to score a goal in the first 4 games of a Stanley Cup final, and this is his first trip to the Stanley Cup final since he was coming off the bench for that Penguins team with Evander Malkin, Sidney Crosby back in the early 2000s. So it's been a long, long time for him to get back to the Stanley Cup, and as the captain of this Hurricanes team, he's living up to it right now.
Yeah, and on the Golden Knights side, Mitch Marner, he had the assist there in the second period. Now 8 points in the first 4 games since 1968. Only 3 other players have done that.
Both Marner and Staal minus money to win the Stanley Cup Final MVP, which I don't think I can ever remember a time where someone on both teams is equal odds that far ahead to win the MVP.
The Hurricanes win 5-3, even up that series 2-2. We have plenty ahead. We're going to dive into the Reds, some Bengals Ring of Honor, Joe Burrow, and much, much more right here on First Word.
On the radio here in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati has always felt like home.
Right here on the Crown Network. Out and about in Cincinnati, bringing you these stories that you need to hear in the Queen City.
You're not getting college. You went to school for drama.
Yes.
Which is, let me tell you what. If any creatives out there who are not actively creating, it makes you go crazy. And I have witnessed firsthand a creative who didn't professionally create and had to take care of so many damn kids and husbands along the way, and it drove you crazy for so long. Now, as a grown woman at this point and been in my career as long as I have so much perspective on your life and how you were in all of your 30s and your 40s, and I'm like, oh my God. I mean, you created in your home, you made, our homes were beautiful, but I feel like, oh my God, because when I don't create, I go nuts. Like, I go absolutely nuts.
I was busy, obviously. I was busy with my children. And
well, I'll say this. You had 4 kids by the time you were 28. We had a great life.
We did.
Yeah, we had a great life. We weren't the richest, we weren't the smartest, we weren't the anythingist ever. But we had a blast. We had a house, we had a dog, we had a pool, we went to school, we had a bunch of friends.
Thank God I had a rich mother. That helps a lot.
Man, I wonder what that's like. God.
You never know.
I won't. Not at all. Well, so now if you could give me any advice at 40 years old, single girl, what would you say?
Get pregnant. Immediately.
Well, there we go. If anyone's got some
strong
strong
DNA.
DNA.
So insemination, just make sure the guy is smart and handsome.
Okay. True.
Who has more yards, Mitch Tinsley or Odell Beckham Jr.?
Odell.
This year?
I think so.
Mitch Tinsley. I'll bet. What do you want to bet? Lunch.
Sure.
Lunch.
Works.
Clip it, Gabe. Lunch. There's no way Odell. And I'm a receiver guy. It's over.
I don't think he's going to be good.
It's over. Mitch Tinsley's good.
Yeah.
Mitch Tinsley probably starts for New York.
I don't disagree, but he doesn't start for the Bengals.
No
and
doubt.
Odell might start for the Giants.
Yeah. No, he won't.
What, you been Darius Slayton fan?
Yes. Way better than Odell.
Yeah.
Odell hasn't played in a meaningful game.
Jalen Hyatt?
Since the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The Super Bowl.
I did see some.
Against the Bengals.
Yeah, some
Just to be
Dolphins
clear.
jerseys on the graphics yesterday.
He played for the Dolphins, but he didn't play. Chad Johnson had a bigger impact for the Dolphins than Odell.
No, you're right. I'm certainly not expecting Odell to be a good receiver this year, but I do think he'll be on the field.
I can't believe I became the anti-wide receiver guy there. But yeah, give me Mitch Tinsley all day long. First Word rolls on a Victory Wednesday as the Reds handle business.
I didn't know they could do that.
I didn't know either, but they handle business in San Diego. 5-3 in extra innings, and let's dive into the Reds. And man, they end a 5-game losing streak. Your guy Chase Burns pitches pretty well. Not his best, but pretty well. And the Reds find a way down the stretch. Blake Dunn, the best Dunn in Reds history, with a sliding grab in the 8th inning. Do you think Adam's going to get offended if I keep doing this bit and someone gets like... Because I've bothered a few Reds fans. My guy Greg Kuffner is bothered.
I think a lot of people are. I'm bothered.
Why? Why are you bothered? You don't even remember Adam Dunn like prime
I very
Adam.
much remember Adam Dunn.
I was about to ask, are we upsetting Adam Dunn or our audio?
That's what I was.
He
I
might be
don't
upset
think
about
audio
this,
Adam
too.
cares.
Really?
Maybe. Is he a big Adam Dunn fan?
Oh, I don't...
Audio Adam, do you care?
Oh, I didn't think... Why would he care?
Well, that's the
He's an
Adam
Adam.
I figured you were asking about.
Oh, no, Adam Dunn. I'm wondering if Adam Dunn cares. The big donkey.
When do you start calling Blake Little Donkey?
Let's no.
Oh, just donkey.
Donkey.
From Shrek. And then in the 11th inning, Sal Stewart, well, man, he hits a monster home run, gets the Reds over the hump, 5-3 win. Talked with Jim Day afterward. Here's what the rookie had to say after the walk-off winner.
How big of a moment was that for you, and particularly this team?
Yeah, we've been having a lot of bad breaks, and it's been kind of a rough stretch, but we're just trying to stick with it, Sometimes I don't know why the man above gives us the challenges that he does, but I trust in him, and I surrender to him. And it hasn't really been going well for myself either. I've been down on a little stretch here, and I've been hearing the outside noise, and it kind of motivated me a little bit. I sometimes you need a little bit of that, and we all hear the outside noise, so it's nice to get a big win like this. And on to tomorrow.
Were you hunting a particular pitch? I think you got a splitter that was left up.
No, I was just looking for a good pitch to hit, and I got one.
Rounding the bases, the emotion was pouring over into the dugout. What was that moment for you? Is that a type of sigh of relief? What's the elation like? Can you put it to words?
More just kind of a lot of frustration getting let out, and it was a big moment. I blacked out, and I've been hearing what's been said about me, when I've been going through a rough stretch. So it was nice to do that and show that, man, nothing's gonna faze me. I'm built for this. I'm built to be in this moment. Jesus gives me all the strength. Like I try to tell you guys, when I go good and bad, I praise him all the time because he gives me all the strength. So I'm just happy that we got the win, and I'm excited for tomorrow.
Whatever it takes to have that chip. One last question. There were some big moments from your teammates. Blake Dunn with the catch in right field, and Zach Maxwell. That's a pretty big moment for him there.
Yep. For sure. Those were great plays, and honestly, all around, we had such a great day. So it was a great team win, and I'm excited for tomorrow.
team win, and they needed a team win desperately. And so the thing that I love about this is that this wasn't just one guy stepping up and finding a way to get out of a rut. A bunch of guys, as Jim Day mentioned at the end there, stepping up. Maxwell out of the bullpen. Obviously, Blake Dunn with the sliding grab, which saved your guy Tony Santillan because that was going to be rough. Sal Stewart doing what he did. Chase Burns with the start. Like, you could point to all these different guys and how much they mattered. The fact that the Reds got a lead early with McLean and Stevenson doing what they did. So a lot of praise to go around, what you need when you're struggling like they are.
Yeah, and hopefully this is that kind of, jolt, a little electricity in that clubhouse that this team needs, that it was a complete team effort. And another guy, Sam Moll, coming in the ninth inning and pitching his way out of that bases-loaded jam by getting the 2 strikeouts there, including Manny Machado. I know Machado is having somewhat of a down year, but he's still one of the bigger names in baseball. And so, yeah, it was phenomenal to see a lot of different guys step up in different ways there last night. And, for Sal Stewart, too, I had to look this up. Didn't realize it's been this long. First home run since May 20th.
Yeah, certainly hasn't been the best for Sal, but I think so much of the conversation around this cold streak, if we want to call it that, for Sal, is how great he was to start the season and the shift to a more standard rookie, if you will, with growing pains and things along those lines. Sal Stewart hit 500 the first month of the season. Now, I know that's a small sample size. You don't play a ton of games in March.
Was he hitting 500?
In March, he hit 500, 5 games. But
in March.
First month of the season. To debut and
still
do that for your
do
first
that.
stretch.
Don't do that.
It was the first month of the season. Was it not?
You tricked me. And I don't like
did.
it. I don't like this.
And then to fall, he's hitting 250 right now, or 240 right now. So it's still, a little bit of growing pains there. But
I was like, he was hitting well. He was like 350.
I know, but 250 is still a good rookie season. That's what because we were talking about running away with Rookie of the Year, potentially being in an MVP conversation through the first so many games of the season. And that's why baseball sample sizes are one of the most important sports for sample sizes, because you can get hot and everything like that. Last week hasn't been great, but over the last 30 games, Sal's hitting almost 260. So he's found it again over a somewhat larger sample size, and last night is a great thing to see.
It is, and they need him to build off of it. The Matt McLain thing is interesting, because now it's still a small sample size. You had the numbers for this month, though. It is June 10th.
Yeah.
It is not June 4th.
Nope.
So hopefully Matt McLain is finding his confidence here, and we look back and we're like, remember in June when he got off to that hot start, and it propels him, because that would be a huge get. Of all the things that we've seen over the past week, how big would it be if Matt McLain, this is the Matt McLain we're seeing, as a guy who can be what we saw in 2023, which was ages ago.
Yeah, and it's a guy that they need, especially when you have a lineup that's struggling to have some type of catalyst. And even on a night last night where he goes 0 for 3, he still draws the 2 walks, so he's still getting on base. And he's now reached safely in 5 straight and has just been off to a phenomenal start in June. It's great to finally have someone like him come around. And I really hope that it's to stay, too. That isn't going to be one of those kind of up and down, kind of cold, warm streaks and then a cold streak to follow.
Right, and I brought this up last week when he started playing shortstop, but it's just become more pronounced over the last couple games at shortstop. In 2026, at the shortstop position, Matt McLain has played 12 games. In those 12 games, he's hit 3 home runs and is batting .265. At second base, in 50 games, Matt McLain has hit 5 home runs, hitting a .198. That is a staggering difference.
It make sense.
I don't know. That's what I don't know what that means, but it is such a big discrepancy that it has to mean something.
And you mentioned yesterday, we talked about the ABS at the end, and the fact 3 straight and he finds a way, draws the 2 walks, scores the run. Maybe he's just way better at short at the plate, which is weird. I can't really wrap my head around that. But Tyler Stevenson and Matt McLain are both guys that, if we would have said, the Reds are going to be a playoff team, we would have expected are going to matter and be part of it. They're at the back of the lineup for a reason right now, and no one's really thinking about them being consistent and being steady. They need these guys to step up and just be, steady performers, even if it isn't a 4-hitter, 5-hitter, 6. They need every time Matt McLain's up, he's got a chance, and I did not feel that way over the first couple months. Yesterday, you mentioned it, 2 strikeouts, doesn't have a hit. You still feel his impact. That matters. Tyler Stevenson obviously had 2 hits as well.
Right, and with Tyler Stevenson, we talk about Matt McLean's numbers in June. I mean, for Stevenson batting 8th in this lineup, in June, he's batting .292 average. I will take that any day of the week from your 8-hitter, including an .829 OPS. And so last night going 2 for 4, with a walk as well. He, too, has reached base safely in 5 straight. And it's that kind of production that we talked about before, too, where you need that production from the bottom half of your lineup. You need something out of those 7, 8, 9 hitters. And it's nice to see Stevenson, finally coming around here too and getting his bat going in June.
Certainly has been great to see Stevenson, but I was very surprised they let him take that at bat at the end of the game yesterday, especially bringing Noelvi Marte in to pinch run. Felt like a great opportunity to use Marte's bat. You brought him up because he's been super hot in AAA. Obviously, Stevenson got on base, so it worked out, but I'm still just perplexed over this last week or so about how they've used Noelvi Marte since they called him up.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's very weird.
It's odd. Not sure what the logic there is. Hopefully he gets his opportunities, and hopefully Sal Stewart continues to take advantage of his opportunities. The Reds poll question, or the poll question of the day, involves the Reds. It involves Sal Stewart. We will dive into that next right here on First Word.
It's fine. We're on our way to the Bonbonnery. I'm excited. I'm from Cincinnati, and the Bonbonnery has been here forever, legendary. Today, we're gonna bake cookies and cakes and stuff and get a behind-the-scenes tour. And it's gonna be really fun and dynamic. And I love baking. I don't really like cooking as much. Cooking meat kind of wigs me out, but I really like baking. Hi, my name is Natalie Jones, and today we're at the Bonbonnery here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Technically in O'Briensville Square. It is a bakery, a deli. It has a nice little cafe in it and a tea room. So let's go see everything about it today. Today I'm gonna make cookies and some cakes and just see exactly how it all works. Okay, so Pat, you're involved. What is your role here?
I run our wholesale department.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And Pat and I know each other from high school? High school, right?
Yeah, the neighborhood.
Cincinnati's
Mount Lookout,
small.
Hyde Park.
Cincinnati's small. We
Yep.
all know each other.
Yep.
And it is your aunt who?
Yeah, I call her an aunt. She's a cousin. Mary Pat Pace and Sharon
Gotcha.
Butler are the 2 owners.
Well, it's fantastic. Let's go check it out.
Let's do it.
I did work in the food industry for a very long time. My parents had a restaurant, and then before that I worked in 25 different restaurants because I just kept getting promotions. Hi, great to see you. Great, how are you? Charlie, look how beautiful these things are. Oh, it's wild. I'm gonna try to make them just as pretty. We're getting the official behind the scenes tour. Look at these ladies. Ooh. Good morning,
So yeah,
hello.
this is our decorating team. Here's the cake
Oh my
team.
gosh. Wow, how many do you make at one time?
Right now, well, this is usually about half what we do, but this is about 60 as a 6-inch and about 20 of the 9-inch.
Wow.
Everything's made fresh, and we don't really have a huge factory or commissary.
Hi, ladies. Hi, good morning.
Yeah, no, funny story. Every Friday, Cody Ford tries Scott Peters with some type of jiu-jitsu wrestling move. And Cody's never done jiu-jitsu or wrestling. And so the first time he did it, it took Cody probably, I'm going to say 9-10 weeks into the season to build up the courage to do this. And so every Friday he'd be like, man, I'm going to get Scott. And we think he was joking. So like I said, it's week 9 or week 10, whoever we're playing. And so we're in Friday, Scott's putting a little zen in or something and staring. And Cody comes behind him and tries to straight up put him in a chokehold. And I never seen someone it was out of a movie. He flipped Cody on his back, put him in something. It was ridiculous.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I just would recommend, man, if you live in the city of Cincinnati, don't mess with Scott Peters. So,
Let's keep things rolling here on a Wednesday. Hump Day. Hump
There
Day.
it is.
Let's see if Marisa will do it.
Hump Day.
Oh my goodness. Boo.
I don't have the voice complexion that you guys have for it.
Yeah.
We'll see. Maybe by end of the show.
Yeah, I was going to
Y'all
say,
stick around.
it's because it's 7 a.m. It's in the 7 a.m. hour. That's why. Marissa's like, yeah, not right now.
We're going to work up there.
Maybe later. Maybe. We're going to dive into and back into the Bengals and Joe Burrow coming up in just a bit, but it's time to get to our poll question of the day. What's the word here on First Word? And it's pretty fitting because we put this out there yesterday, and then Sal Stewart must have read it and said, "Pay me," because he hits the walk-off home run in the 11th. Should the Reds sign Sal Stewart to a contract extension this season? 50.5% of you say yes, bright future. 35.5% say not this year, too early, and he is under contract or under team control through 2031. 14% say no, haven't seen enough.
I'm glad the audience went with the yes, bright future. That's kind of where I lie in this camp. I think we have seen enough of a resume so far from Sal Stewart. I know it's still relatively early, but it just, his swing is something else. He can play multiple positions in the field. He's just one of those pieces that I think you can build a team around.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with this poll straight down here. The 15% of people that say they haven't seen enough, I'm certainly on the other side there. But I think it is a worthwhile conversation to say not to extend him this year, even if you are the biggest Sal Stewart fan and believer in the Reds fan base, because they do have him under team control until 2031. And you are overpaying a lot of that renewable contract, early arbitration potentially for Sal Stewart to add a few years on the end. So I understand potentially waiting a few years or seeing how that operates with the new CBA. I think that's so much of a discussion around these extensions we've seen for a lot of these prospects before they've debuted, and obviously now Sal has debuted, but it's a similar conversation this early in his career. Will these contracts be grandfathered into a new salary cap, or how will all that work? I think changes this conversation pretty drastically, because if you can steal a Sal Stewart contract before the new CBA, I think you should be working on that as soon as possible.
Steal a new contract before the CBA, but also maybe at a lower price than if you wait a year or two and he just, happens to explode and go off. I think it's smarter to try to lock him up now.
I mean, as quickly as he fell from the Rookie of the Year favorite to fourth in those odds, he could get right back to that catbird seat there. And if he wins Rookie of the Year, that extension, shoots all the way up.
Yeah, what is his ceiling? I think that's a conversation that we can dive into coming up of what we realistically think his ceiling is. For me, it just depends on the number.
Yeah.
There was a time when I would have said sign Matt McClain to an extension and it makes a ton of sense and do it. And now we're like, hey, he's hitting 209 and walking twice and celebrating that. And it's because expectations change. Yeah. Sal Stewart, I felt differently about him 2 months ago than I do right now. And it doesn't mean that long-term wise, I don't necessarily feel that way, but just what he can be this season. And that does matter because he's under team control through 2031. At the same time, 2031 is going to be here before you know it. And it gets, that team control is going to be over fast. It's going to get early really quickly if he is an all-star, if he is a Rookie of the Year type of player. And so that's what I think is interesting, is balancing out the two things. We do have a Sal Stewart contract update, and do the Reds want to extend him and all of those things? We'll get to that. But as far as do we want them to, I'm open to it under the right circumstances. I don't need to see more or he's not good enough or anything like that. I'm open to it, but it's got to be right. It's got to make sense for the Reds to do.
My thing with the Reds, especially with where they are as a franchise, and there's a good chunk of the MLB in where the Reds are, and that's why there's such a big conversation about this collective bargaining agreement and salary cap. If Sal Stewart is anywhere close to what the Reds think he will be, this contract is out the window by 2028 or 9, probably, even with 31 in team control. Still have Ellie for many more years here in Cincinnati, and so much conversation around his extension is that price point has already cleared what anything the Reds would be able to offer would be. So I'm not saying Sal's going to be Ellie De La Cruz, but I certainly think he could get close, and I think he can be a mainstay at first or third for the Reds for a decade plus. So if he plays well, regardless of Rookie of the Year this year, if he's an all-star his sophomore year or even his third year in the bigs, then this contract could get out of the Reds price range very, very quickly. So when you have a player that you believe in, I think this is the type of gambles the Reds should be eager to make, because they're the only ones that can keep star players in Cincinnati.
Perfectly said. I completely agree with every point you just made there. It's just I would fear and hate for the Reds to wait too long on this and then he gets out of their price point. And it turns into a situation where you're wondering how can the Reds make both Ellie work and Sal work, because you would love to see both of those guys long term in red.
We will see if they decide to get something done. If they not, should they not? We're going to get the latest on that and dive into it. It's something Jacob Tissot's been wanting to talk about all week. We will do that next, right here on First Word.
And today we are at Laurie's Roadhouse in Westchester, in Cincinnati, Ohio. We're about to go country line dancing. And I'm here with Erica. She is the resident country line dancing teacher. And she has done it every Tuesday since 21?
21, unless I'm at the beach.
Unless she's at the beach, okay. Now Laurie's Roadhouse has been here since 2021, right?
October 2021. When I tell folks the rules for line dancing, you have to be able to count to 8.
Okay, cool.
It's helpful if you know your right from your left.
Okay.
You have to smile and have fun.
Hey.
And encourage your neighbor.
Oh, you're doing great, girl. Good job. All right, girl, here we go.
I want to welcome you all to Tuesday Night Line Dancing. How many new friends do we have? New friends, new friends. Loud and proud, here we go. So we want our new friends to feel really welcome. So tonight they're going to learn 3 dances in the beginning class from 7 to 8. I'm going to teach the dances step by step by step with a lot of repetition. Makes it easy to learn. Right. 1, 2, 3. Nice. Did you nail it?
Nailed it!
That's because we haven't turned yet. It's back 3, 4. Okay, you just did a rocking chair. Now step forward on your right, left.
Dude, you know what?
Now you know the drill. You're going to count that.
1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7. Oop, okay.
That didn't sound very confident. So let's do it 2 more times.
Oh, perfect.
Looking good.
5, 6, 7, and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, right.
Turn again.
5, 6, 7, and 8.
Good job, dancers. Stay. So in the early 90s, I danced 6 nights a week for 6, 7, 8 years. And then when all the bars closed, then I kept dancing. I danced at church. I danced at community centers, recreation centers. Right now I have like 9 or 10 classes a week, but this is by far the funnest place ever.
It's only one I can do. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Now, this year's World Cup does feature 48 teams. It's the largest the tournament has ever featured and does include Messi and the defending champions, Argentina, along with some of the powerhouse names like France, Brazil, and England. Now, the format for this year's tournament is going to look like this. The 48 teams will be divided into 12 groups of 4, with the top 2 teams and the best third-place finishers advancing to the newly introduced round of 32. Now, as for the United States, they are co-hosting the tournament for the first time since 1994, as aspirations are very high for this U.S. squad. Let's take a look, though, at how they can advance through group play. They will be in Group D. Friday, June 12th, the U.S. will kick off their tournament against Paraguay. That is at 9 p.m. Eastern from Los Angeles. They will then head up to Seattle on June 19th to take on Australia, and then we'll be back in LA on June 25th.
I'm James Rapien, and I made a very, very big mistake. Welcome back to First Word. I'm James. That's Jacob Tissot and Marisa Contipelli. They didn't make mistakes. I did. I called the South Stewart game winner a walk-off on X.
Oh.
Walk-off.
Very much wasn't.
They're very much in San
a little
Diego.
different, yeah.
If they were starting those games at 10 p in Cincinnati, that'd be a problem.
Look at you.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that much different.
Yeah.
A little different.
Time zones, man.
Yeah, a little different. But regardless, yes, not a walk-off, but very much a game winner. And that leads into the Sal Stewart conversation, which we'll dive into in just a minute. Just a reminder, you can find us live on YouTube every single morning. We are your morning sports show, Cincinnati, 7 to 11, always open, live on Mixlr, live on X, Facebook, and, of course, on the Rock Entertainment Sports Network, which you can find on Spectrum, Alta Fiber, over the air, and every single weekday. The Working Lunch with Jack Crumley is at noon. And then you can also catch our podcasts and shows on demand. Nat Tries That, The Nat Jones Show, and Rebound Rundown with PDF. Paul Fritchner is going to be joining us in just a bit. John Fanta today at 9 to talk all things NBA Finals. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, big Fanta guy. Orange, lime, strawberry. I'm an orange. Fanta orange.
You're ridiculous. Ridiculous. Orange as well, though, because I need the Knicks to handle business tonight. Okay. There we go. That's what I thought you were going with. That's what I'm going with. I know you are a Sal Stewart guy.
Absolutely.
Sal Stewart hits the game-winning home run. I got it right that time. And the Reds snap a 5-game losing streak to improve to 32 and 34 on the season, a 5-3 victory. We'll hear from Sal in a minute. But this contract extension stuff, and it's the subject of today's poll question. Jacob, you've been on this. You want this to get done. You're bullish on it. So when you see everything that went into the reporting last week and early this week on Sal's future and what Nick Kroll said and all those things, what was your reaction?
I'm not sure it's hyperbolic to say these are some of my least favorite Reds quotes of all time. I absolutely hate the way Sal is talking about the way the Reds are going about this. And I think the frustration here comes from his eagerness, really from his debut, to start discussions about an extension. We heard this in, I believe it was his second or third series, that he was open to talking about an extension with the Reds. And that's when myself and a lot of Reds fans jumped in and said, well, if he's open to it, they should be open to it. I think Sal Stewart is absolutely a piece of this core. And this is what he said when asked about the conversations, or lack thereof, with baseball president Nick Kroll so far this season. I was open to it, Stewart said, of a long-term deal. The Reds don't feel like right now is the right time, which is 100% fine. I still have to prove myself and prove to the league what I can do. I leave all of that contract issues up to my agent. I have him for a reason. I trust him. I trust his decision-making as well. Sal's focused on baseball, and he should be. But I think if he wants to be a Red for a long time, the Reds should be just as excited to touch that pen to paper. Kroll said he could be in consideration, but hasn't been really good for us, and we need to have discussions. Haven't had that discussion with him yet.
Yeah, both quotes courtesy of Mark Sheldon, MLB.com. Look, I think it's interesting the Reds haven't even gone to, let's just see what it's like. Because I'm open to it under the right number and under the right circumstance, and maybe Sal wouldn't be open to that. But we'll see, right? And that's what it is with every negotiation. So for the Reds to not do that, I wonder why. What's the logic? Seeing more, I think we have an idea of what he is. I do wonder if their push to get Matt McLain signed a couple of years ago, it not getting done, and them realizing, this thing can change in a hurry and spiral when you're a top-rated prospect and you're working out, and it's going to be really good, and you have a bright future, and then things can change in a hurry. I wonder if that has any lingering effect on them, because I am surprised to hear that they're just, we'll cross that bridge when it comes, but they're not even, it doesn't even seem like they're close to the bridge.
Right, and it could, but I'm also surprised to at least not just have initial conversations, just to see where both sides are at, to dip your toes into the water to see when you do, if you're not, that serious about getting this done at this point, when you get to that point down the road, to at least have an idea of where the sides are and what Sal's camp and him are kind of expecting this deal to look like. And again, we just talked about it last block. I worry them waiting too long because you look at Sal's numbers. He's still in the NL Rookie of the Year consideration right now. His odds plus 200. He has the second best odds to win it, and he's still leading all NL qualified rookies in most offensive categories: hits, home runs, doubles, ribbies, slugging, OPS. He also has 10 stolen bases, so he's lethal on the base paths as well. He brings so much value to this lineup, even when he's gone through some cold spells here recently.
Yeah, and you talk about the offense. He ranks towards the top of all young players, qualified rookies in the league right now. He's fourth among rookies in WAR, second in the National League in WAR, third among qualified rookies in OPS, and third in home runs as well. So he is translated to the majors really, really well. And I think the thing that kind of flies under the radar with him is 41 games at first base this year, 6 at second, 21 at third. He is playing all across the infield in his rookie season and playing very well. We've had discussions at this desk and in this office about second base and third base being viable positions for Sal Stewart long term. And through the first month of the season, he had only played first base. So the versatility defensively, showing he can play multiple positions, being one of the few bats, even through this cold streak, that you can really trust on this Reds team in the grand scheme of things, I think tells you that he can do it, and he can do it at a high level, and I think he can do it for a long time. All the underlying metrics say that none of this success early in his career is a fluke, and I know that was the case with a lot of these rookies when they came up originally also, but Stewart's a position the Reds really need at first base to have figured out. That was supposed to be CES with this core coming up. He was supposed to be the home run power guy at first base that can play third in a pinch and be there for the next decade. Obviously, he's in Baltimore now. So I think Sal fills that need for them, and he does it at even a higher level.
Kevin McGonigal signed an 8-year, $150 million extension earlier this year with the Tigers. Pirate shortstop Connor Griffin, 9 years, $140 million. You had Colt Emerson, 8 years, $95 million. What does a Sal Stewart, a reasonable number for Sal Stewart, what is that? Is that 8 years, $150?
It's in between those. He's not the prospect that Connor Griffin was, and he's certainly not having the rookie year that Kevin McGonigal is right now. So, and Colt Emerson still hasn't even debuted for the Mariners. So I think he does fall somewhere in the middle there, and I think that conversation would just be, what is Sal willing to take? Because obviously the conversation so much is what are the Reds willing to give, but the understanding that adding those free agent years at the end, and even some of those arbitration years, if Sal is the player a lot of us think he can be, that will be drastically underpaid. But he's making that money up through those years up till 2031 when he's already under team control, usurping that rookie contract. So he's going to have to make that trade-off, and the one that I keep going back to is, in my opinion, one of, if not the best contracts in Reds history in Hunter Green. They have Hunter Green at an absolute steal, and obviously we haven't seen him yet this year, but overpaying, if you will, for a couple seasons have given the Reds some security in their rotation, having Hunter Green locked up here.
9 for 120? Is that
I would do it.
8 for 120?
Yeah.
Like what's the middle? Like what do you envision?
8 for 120 makes the most sense. Years is the hardest thing to add. I think that's obviously cutting into his prime years, pushing back when he can hit the open market would obviously be the toughest thing to have a conversation about. But the Reds should be all over an 8-year extension around that 120 to 150 range.
$15 million per year. I get behind it. 150 is different though, because then that's pushing it to that other level. And 9. Okay. Yeah. And so then what? $16.5 million per year?
What's the difference in annual value you'd be willing to do to add years? I think that's a part of the discussion as well. Would you rather have a 7-year extension at 12, 13 million, or a 9-year extension at 16, 17 million? And I do think there is.
I would do 9 for 150. I think that's probably the max.
I think you're right, and I think 9 years is higher than any extension they'd sign. That Sal would sign.
Yeah.
I do. I think cutting 4 years into that free agency
then it's 8
period,
for 120.
And 8's fine. Yeah, I don't think I'd go much lower than 8. I think adding 3 years is the key for me there, the key number for me there.
Yeah, because you have 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. You add 3 more. Because otherwise, you're right. You're overspending to get a year or two. And there's risk.
Absolutely.
Because he isn't proven. I think that's the other thing, and that's where the Reds probably are like, we'll see. Here's what I would say, is if you get him for 15 or 16 million per, and he ends up being an all-star, or ends up getting his ceiling, it is a steal. Steal. And it doesn't feel like this ticking clock that Elly De La Cruz feels like. Because that does feel like a clock. Part of why this season and the past month and a half have been so disappointing is you're only going to get so much Elly, who... looks pretty good right now as he's working
was
out. Did you see him working out? He's jogging.
Exciting stuff.
Going to get rescanned Friday.
Yeah,
I believe.
Win a series today, positive Ellie news on Friday. Could feel a lot different about this Reds team going into the weekend than we did at the beginning of this week. But I think so much of the frustration for myself and other Reds fans around this Sal extension, and I guess the hurdles the front office is presenting for this extension, is where the money's been spent so far on this roster for a team that we know is going to be cash-strapped. And we're talking about adding talent. $15 million to Eugenio Suarez, $14.9 this year to Jamer Candelaria, who's playing for the Angels AAA club, $12.8 to Brady Singer, $10 to Pagan, $8.8 to Hunter Green, same to Stevenson and Ke'Bryan Hayes. None of those players I've named yet have made a meaningful impact to the Reds this year. And that is an incredibly hard pill to swallow. Round out the top 10 with Pierce Johnson, Jose Trevino, and Nick Lodolo. We still haven't gotten to a high-impact player on the Reds so far this year. And that's the frustrating thing when the front office says they don't have money to go get these extensions done, or they don't have the money to add a Kyle Schwarber in the offseason, or whatever these spins are, is they've spent the money. And they've just spent it in objectively the wrong place so far.
Coming up in 25 minutes, we'll get to the latest on Joe Burrow. They restructured his contract. What are the Bengals doing? But up next, While You Slept, right here on First Word.
I gotta go somewhere to eat this now. Holy. Look at this. This is item number 4. This is the Strawberry Cookie Dream Bowl from Davis Cookie Collection. Whipped cream again on top, some cookie crumble, a strawberry cookie, and then that's gotta be ice cream. And they made this to order with some strawberry syrup on top. Ooh-wee. It's like, you know, when you get a dip top, I always get the strawberry dip top. Oh, this is delicious. Oh, yeah. Ooh. All right, the more rest in your mouth, the better. I can feel my hips expanding. Worth it. Thank you so much. Woo-wee. Look at these. All right, here we go. The Wicked Hickory brisket sandwich. Oh, this looks good. Oh, yeah. Eating brisket after ice cream is tough. Hello, I don't know if I have.
They did. Yeah, you can cover that up. So they did a change on it. The snack and bites are the meatball.
Gotcha. You know what? You're not even on. You're not on my list.
Oh, you missed out, dude.
Get out of here! Get out of here!
Next year. Huh?
You seem great. I want to eat this man's food. Damn. Heck yeah. Be careful. Thank you so much.
Enjoy, honey.
All right, this is a bruschetta grilled cheese topped with a balsamic glaze. Let's go. Oh, let's get in there. Woo! Ooh. You know, sometimes your mouth waters so much it hurts. That's what's happening right now. Look how beautiful that is. It looks like a crab. Isn't that cute? All right, to be honest, if I could, I would just give everybody a 10 out of a 10. You know, everyone gets a 5 Yelp score for me.
Jeremy Fowler is our guest of ESPN. Jeremy, in NFL circles, are the Bengals viewed as a contender again? They've missed the playoffs 3 straight years. They make this big swing for Dexter Lawrence. Obviously, you mentioned Joe Burrow and the skill guys that they have. Are they viewed that way?
They are viewed as, in a wide open AFC North, a contender. If you can get out of that division and you can just get in the dance, they're viewed as a team still like they were 3 or 4 years ago, where anything's possible, right? Like you've seen the games they played against Kansas City when KC was in their prime. And it's one of those things where even when they lost, it felt like they probably should have won, or they dropped the ball or a play away from winning. That element there still exists. You know, it's tough though, because winning is infectious. And losing is infectious too a little bit. So you can't just assume that year to year you're going to be able to bounce back. But this league is built on parity. If you've had some down years, as long as you are building the roster the right way and have enough personnel, it can flip from 7 wins to 11 wins pretty quickly. I mean, you see that league wide.
Hump Day! Welcome back to First Word. I'm James Rapien alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob smirking at me, Tissot. As we get rolling here, it is time to dive into the Cincinnati Reds. And for the first time in a while, since their miracle victory last week over the Royals, which is ridiculous that I'm saying it that way, but it's true, they found another way to get a big win, a late night win in San Diego, snapping a 5-game losing streak. And this was very, very pleasant to wake up to. And if while you slept, I'm sure you slept during this and you were sleeping and you're waking up and you're like, did the Reds snap the losing streak? They did, thanks to a bunch of guys. Sal Stewart, Blake Dunn coming up clutch in the 8th with the diving catch. Sal Stewart with the walk-off in the 11th.
Yeah, it's exactly what we wanted to see. Sal, a guy that was such a key piece of this team when they were hot early in the season, hitting a big-time home run there that we really haven't seen over the last month or so with those big-time hits. And then something flying under the radar because he wasn't as good overall last night, but a huge double late in the game from Eugenio Suarez, who has consistently struggled with the Reds so far this year. Yeah. So hopefully able to get back into form, but another great start for Chase Burns. 2 earned runs allowed, his 10th straight start, allowing 2 runs or less, not quite to the 6-inning threshold that we've been accustomed to getting him to, but 5 1/3 and a really good start for Burns, and picked up by the bullpen, which was nice to see for the first time in a while.
Yeah, those 10 straight starts with 2 or fewer runs allowed by Burns trails only Edison Volquez's 12 in 2008 by a Reds pitcher. He's just been phenomenal, and a lot of people were saying that's one of Burns' worst starts of the year, and the fact that he only gave up those 2 earned runs, but the runs that Burns did give up, those were the first that weren't allowed via a home run since April 28th. So he has just been so consistent in that way. It was great to see him on the mound again. But guys, I almost felt like a sigh of relief come over me when I saw that the Reds did pull out the win, because they almost gave it away again in the bottom of the 8th. A safety squeeze situation that the Padres put on, thankfully called back after ricocheted off of the bat twice. But otherwise, the runner would have been safe at home, and that probably would have been ball game. So it was just another one of those that felt like a deja vu moment in the moment, and I'm really glad that the Reds found a way there in the 10th and 11th to score.
It is amazing, and you're completely right, but it is amazing that we're sitting here saying, oh, the Reds go down 1 run in the 8th inning and the game will be over. Which
Padres
probably
have one of
would
the best closers in.
I know, absolutely,
too, so.
but it's as much of a comment on the Reds' offense and the faith in those bats and the bullpen for the Reds as anything else. So great that they were able to get that done.
We talked yesterday as the skid hit 5, and it was the small things. You got to do the small. That Blake Dunn catch is it's ginormous, of course, but the hustle, the speed, the finding a way to make a play on the ball, just to give yourself a chance and then to take advantage of that chance. And we're going to dive into Sal Stewart. He's the subject of today's poll question, so we will dive into that coming up. But here's Terry Francona after a much-needed win for the Reds, where they gain a game in the Central and snap a 5-game losing streak. Here's what Tito had to say afterward.
The moment you had the catch from Dunn, Maul, Maxwell coming in and getting his first save, that was quite the game.
It was actually a kind of sound kind of masochistic, but it was a fun game to be a part of. I mean, God, there was so much going on, and our guys there was a lot of frustration. We left some runs out there early, but we didn't pay for it. They kept playing. There was good energy, and I was really excited about that, because, man, when you're kind of getting beat up a little bit, and then things don't go well, they just kept plugging, and that was good to see.
The game on the line, and that ball was in the air. Did you think that Blake Dunn was going to catch that ball?
You know what? I get your point, but he kind of wills himself. Like, I thought he had a chance to catch it. How's that? Because that would be unfair to say, yeah, you're going to catch it. But he kind of wills himself, and that was great play.
Is it great to just hear music in there at this point?
Yes, but I'm telling you, during the game, hearing it, like picking each other up, that helped me. There was we had Lodolo's volunteering to go out to the bullpen, things like that. Yeah. Those are things that kind of lift me a little bit.
Speaking of that bullpen, they've gone through hell the last month plus, and a game like today, what can you say about those guys?
Yeah, I was actually thrilled for everybody, because you're right, it's been tough sledding, and I know one game doesn't make our season. I'm well aware of that, but it's nice to be able to brag about them for a night, because they did a good job.
Especially Tony. I mean, he's a couple games in a row now.
He's got a big heart, man, and I know people, it's easy. I know the numbers, but he's very important.
Yeah, he's got to feel really good right now. You find a way to get a win. I do like the Nick Lodolo volunteering part of it because it's the culture.
Yeah.
It's not like guys are pointing fingers. They're trying to help. They're trying to find the solution. Sometimes the solution is a diving grab and a home run in the 11th that can jumpstart things. You never know.
Yeah, and Dunn has been great at the plate since he's been called up, but has been such an asset in the outfield.
Some are saying.
You are saying.
Best Dunn in Reds history.
There we go. I knew you'd get it off. As soon as I saw that.
I'm some.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that, I knew we would get one today at least.
Diving grab.
It's a great play.
Adam Dunn couldn't have done that.
You're probably right.
No, not the dive. Yeah, no. He's not doing that. Now he would have hit 4 long balls and it would have been fine. But
But Dunn not yet qualified for a lot of advanced metrics, but he's trending in a direction to be an elite defender. 3 outs above average in fielding run value so far this season, and one of the fastest players in baseball at a 99th percentile sprint speed, faster than Ellie was even getting to when he was opening it up a little bit before that injury. So he has been a really great find for the Reds this year, and a lot of the success the Reds have found offensively and defensively, a lot of the players that have been big pieces for them so far this season weren't expected. So as those guys that were expected to be big pieces start to catch on, maybe there's something that you can hold on to here.
I hope so. And some of those guys, Suarez being one of them, before his 10th inning double, he was 3 for his last 38 under a .078 average. So hopefully he's starting to maybe find his swing again. And obviously having Sal Stewart come up with that huge home run there in the 11th as well, because the first 8 innings of this game, the Reds stranded at least 1 base runner in each of those innings. So again, they're getting runners on, they're getting hits, but they weren't finding a way to cash those runs in. So glad that they were able to come through in the 10th and 11th with 2 guys that you need to produce in this lineup.
Yeah, it's a huge win. I don't think we can overstate it. If we were to have talked about Chase Burns, 5 1/3, 2 earned, and they lose late, they lose in extras, it would have just been another gut punch that this Reds team has had to deal with. Instead, 32 and 34, gain a game in the Central. And we'll see if they can win the series today. More Reds conversation coming your way in a bit. But Joe Burrow has restructured his contract. The Bengals restructuring his deal. To be clear, that's how I should phrase it, because there is a lot of, Joe Burrow should do this. The Bengals decided to do something they've never done in team history, which is restructure, and they restructured Joe Burrow's contract, saved $10 million in cap space, and you move those numbers around to give yourself more room to work with. It's good to be a Bengals fan right now, because I think that there are more moves coming because they decided to do something they've never done.
Exactly, and this is something we've been talking about in the First Word offices, is when was this going to happen? Because we felt like it was a necessity that they needed to do something, because there are so many extensions that we're hoping that happens, especially with DJ Turner, Dax Hill, Miles Murphy, but then also, are they going to add another piece to this locker room in some way? I would hope in the linebacker room in some capacity, but I'm glad this finally happened, that the news broke, that we got the deal restructured done, and yeah, it'll just be interesting to see kind of how the pieces all kind of fall into place now.
Yeah, that's been the conversation here for months, is when, not if. And I think over the last couple of weeks, some Bengals fans have maybe creeped over into the if category, just as we creep into June and the offseason progresses. But it's great to see the Bengals get this done, take the full step into all-in territory, and really go for a ring this year.
Yeah, I think the what's next is going to be so interesting.
For sure.
And as we move on, just this morning, I think there are people, they're going to do this. It might be a DJ Turner extension, Dax Hill extension. Maybe it's Miles Murphy or Chase Brown. Maybe it's a linebacker. Maybe it's one of the Bobbies that Marisa mentioned yesterday.
Ooh. Please.
Maybe it's both. Like
Both
you know,
Bobbies?
I think no, a Bobby and a DJ.
Man,
it'd be great.
And I think that, given what we know about the Bengals, they wouldn't do this just to do it. Just to say, hey, see, we did this too. They don't really care if we're like, hey, they finally did something they've never done. No, they would do it for a reason. There would be a reason behind it. And so now I wonder how long it takes for the next shoe to drop. And here's why. The DJ Turner extension or the Dax Hill, most of those things come during training camp. Mm-hmm. Very rarely have they, my guy Jay Morrison looked this up, they've only signed 3 extensions since 2000 in June. Giovanni Bernard was the latest, but it's not like there's a lot of guys that they do business with now. Maybe that's the case. Maybe they're like, hey, we're close on DJ. Let's get this done now. Let's get Burrow done. Or maybe it's let's get Burrow done and now we can focus on what DJ looks like.
Yeah, about every single offseason in the past, I would have went with the historical Bengals calendar, but
can't do it.
Every step along the way in 2026, they've broken those norms. So maybe we should expect an extension in June.
That'd be great. Sign me up for an extension in June, so then you don't have to worry about it during training camp. But no, I think them getting this done helps open the door for some of those conversations to be had, maybe a little bit earlier. I'm hoping they're already ongoing, especially with DJ Turner. But we'll see where the two sides play out.
One other noteworthy thing, Dax Hill, DJ Turner, same agent. Whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, I think we can weigh during the show and in the coming days and weeks, depending on when a deal gets done, if a deal gets done with either guy. A deal did get done with Cassius Howe, the Bengals rookie second-round pick, 41st overall. And this, man, drama-free is the way to be. After last year with Shamar Stewart and everything that went into that, you had the second-round picks, and Demetrius Knight was caught up in that, not signing because they wanted fully guaranteed deals. To get Cassius Howe done, extremely noteworthy. One, because I think he's going to be able to contribute in a big way. But two, the fact that you just avoid all the drama that you had to deal with last year. You get a guy who you're expecting to contribute, expecting to help your pass rush, and he signs on June 9th.
Yes, and now all the picks from this draft class are signed, and it hit honestly the fact that he had been with the team and practicing, and it had been so long. I'll be honest, I kind of forgot that he was unsigned, just since he's been around, and there was no drama behind it, kind of last year what we saw with Shamar.
Yeah, and it wasn't just last year, obviously the most notable rookie holdout, but there's been distractions throughout the offseason for about as long as I can remember in the Joe Burrow era here in Cincinnati. So it's great that the Bengals have taken care of a lot of this early in the offseason, not just getting Howell done in the first weeks of June, but Orlando Brown's extension early this offseason, getting Reisner re-signed early this offseason, getting everything really ready to go, and everyone here ready to compete at the beginning of OTAs. I think it's just a great sign to show that not only did the front office do their job this offseason, but everyone is on the same page and ready to go this year, and I think that's really, really exciting.
Cassius, they need you to be Cash and add to this pass rush for sure. And that's it. Like, this Bengals defense, because of Cassius, because of Dexter and Mafe and Jonathan Allen, like those additions, you're hoping that this defensive front is their identity. As good as Brian Cook could be and DJ Turner and Dax Hill, you need this defensive front to be the identity. And if it is, man, what a beautiful spot they will be in, because that pass rush is king. We know, we've seen it the other way. If you get after Joe Burrow, it's really tough to live that way. You could make opposing quarterbacks uncomfortable. It's going to go a long way toward the Bengals getting back to the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think a really exciting thing about the defensive line potentially being a strength is we've talked a lot about extending both of those dominant corners, how great Brian Cook is. Maybe the secondary and the defensive line can be a strength. And we're talking about a really good Bengals defense this year.
Yeah, and it's refreshing that we're actually having this conversation, that there's a strength and a real positive on this defense, and it starts up front. And so it's nice to see, and hopefully it's something that we can see these younger guys come into form with Cassius Howell and Shamar Stewart and Miles Murphy even really taking strides in 2026.
Let's continue while you slept with the latest on Brendan Sorsby. I'm not sure if you guys saw this from Pete Thamel last night, but the Big 12 athletic directors held a spirited call around midday with Commissioner Brett Yormark. And it's just the latest on Sorsby as he's, with the injunction, eligible for the 2026 season. I think we're going to continue to hear a bunch about this. Obviously, the NCAA is going to appeal and has appealed the decision. But again, as of now, June 10th, Sorsby on track to play this year.
Basically, all the conversations we're hearing from different commissioners or schools or whoever speaking for the conferences at this point, everyone's on the same page. They're frustrated that this happened. They don't really understand how a waiver was granted, but they also don't really understand what they can do to fight back. I think that's what we're seeing right now is a lot of people trying to figure out what courses of action can even be taken against Texas Tech and Brendan Sorsby. From the NCAA down to athletic directors and individual conferences, we'll see what happens, but I think the story is really just beginning.
Thamel reporting, he said that the call was the first in 3 expected steps by the Big 12 on potentially addressing the Sorsby situation. And it's unknown whether or not the league would say, hey, Brendan Sorsby can't play. But I think that's at least a talking point for the Big 12 right now as they kind of evaluate that.
Absolutely. And something I brought up just a little bit in passing yesterday that has come up a little bit more is the NCAA, whether he's granted eligibility or not, has empirical role over the postseason. So whether he plays or not, they can deem Texas Tech eligible or ineligible for the playoff or bowl games, whether he has a temporary restraining order or not.
And what I wonder is if they say, hey, if you do this and you're going to go down this path and he's eligible, and then this is what we're going to do. But you do it behind the scenes before it gets loud. I can't imagine. You mentioned fly on the wall with the Bengals earlier in the show. Fly on the wall with all of these discussions. I want all of this. Would be the ultimate soap opera, drama, reality TV show, whatever you want to. This is the Hard Knocks I really want.
Yeah, no question.
Oh my goodness, it would be must watch. The Stanley Cup has been must watch, and I turned it on during the third period last night, and it was 3-3, and it was the perfect time. And Carolina handled business. It is 2-2. Las Vegas, as hot as they are, Carolina is doing everything they can to handle business and hoist the Stanley Cup. 2-2 in a wild victory.
It's been exciting to see, and as you see the score here, it's been electric, and it's just one of those. I'm hoping the series goes 7 games because NHL fans across the country deserve that. But the fact that they have combined for 33 goals here in just the first 4 games has just been unreal. It's tied for the 3rd most in a single Stanley Cup final.
Yeah. I love this because last night, it was 4-3 down the stretch. It was 3-3 when I turned it on in the third period. And the only reason this was a 2-goal deficit was because of an empty netter late. So it's been down the stretch, 5-4, 4-3, 5-4, which should have been 4-3. The empty netter changed it, but it's been as tight and as competitive of a Stanley Cup as you could ask for.
Absolutely, and Jordan Staal, what a playoffs it's been for him. So far, he's the first player age 37 or older to score a goal in the first 4 games of a Stanley Cup final, and this is his first trip to the Stanley Cup final since he was coming off the bench for that Penguins team with Evander Malkin, Sidney Crosby back in the early 2000s. So it's been a long time for him to get back to the Stanley Cup, and as the captain of this Hurricanes team, he's living up to it right now.
Yeah, and on the Golden Knights side, Mitch Marner, he had the assist there in the second period. Now 8 points in the first 4 games since 1968. Only 3 other players have done that.
Both Marner and Staal minus money to win the Stanley Cup Final MVP, which I don't think I can ever remember a time where someone on both teams is equal odds that far ahead to win the MVP.
The Hurricanes win 5-3, even up that series 2-2. We have plenty ahead. We're going to dive into the Reds, some Bengals Ring of Honor, Joe Burrow, and much more right here on First Word. My name is James Rapien, and I host First Word every weekday morning, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown. Prior to joining The Crown Network, I covered the Bengals for Sports Illustrated for 6 seasons. I also am the founder of Cincinnati Bengals Talk on YouTube and wrote the book, Enter the Jungle, A History of the Cincinnati Bengals. Couldn't be more excited to join you every weekday morning for First Word right here on The Crown.
I mean, I've enjoyed being here, especially these days. Like, the food scene's incredible, the art's incredible. I mean, again, there's opportunities for everything. We were just talking. I just booked a big nationwide commercial, and I shot it on a weekend up near Mason. You know what I mean? Like, that's awesome to me.
Well, and we've got, in terms of your filmmaking work,
Ooh!
I first came to know your work through a little short film, there it is.
Oh, yes.
Called Chilluminati.
Yes.
Which was a submission into the very first Independent Film Festival in 2018.
Yeah.
That's how I met you. Tell people about Chilluminati.
So when I first moved to Cincinnati, I thought it was very weird that there was what I've lovingly referred to as a chili-based economy here. And I was just like, it's fascinating to me that there are these 2 chain restaurants that compete solely with each other as far as, obviously there's the mom and pop places too. I don't want to belittle them. But I was like, you're telling me there's one blue chili brand and one red chili brand? And I was like, this is BS. There's just got to be one Greek guy at the top of this that invented the recipe. It was like, all right, the family split off. And so for years, I would joke with my friends, that were natives here. I'm like, oh, the chili mafia. You know what I mean? All this, like, it was like, be careful. And don't get me wrong, I adopted Cincinnati chili.
Sure.
Like, it's one of my own.
It's big business in this town. You're right.
It is.
A
I need to be a
chili-based
part
economy.
of it.
That's really good.
But I do love it. And then it all came to fruition when this came out of one of the 48-hour film projects. Because that was just one of those ones where I think me and my team at the time were all just, a couple of us worked together, and we were all just a little depressed, and we're like, we need to make a passion project. So I kind of signed us up unknowingly for 48.
Which, for those of you that don't know, the 48-hour film project is exactly what it sounds. It's a group of people can sign up. You pay to join, and then you have 2 days to write and shoot and edit and put all together. And then, like, there's certain little themes you have to pepper in.
Exactly.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones. Just your typical 40-year-old Cincinnati girl. Although, no, I'm not married or divorced. I don't have any kids, and I don't live in the neighborhood I grew up in, which is the West Side, by the way. But what I do have is a lot of freaking time, and I've been using it well. So come along with me on this grand adventure, because I've been trying all the new shit around town that you need to know about. This is Nat Tries That. On the radio here in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati has always felt like home.
Right here on the Crown Network.
Out and about in Cincinnati, bringing you the stories that you need to hear in the Queen City.
First Word rolls on a Wednesday, hump day, and we got over the hump. On YouTube, as you're watching live, we are at 5,000 plus subscribers. So thank you so much for doing that. I have a special post on X and on our socials going out in just a minute that they don't know about, which I love. I'm really excited about that. But make sure you go to YouTube and hit that subscribe button. Check us out wherever you get your podcast, of course. And if you're just joining us, guess what? We got John Fanta in 23 minutes right now on First Word. How about that?
Big time.
It is big time. I'm excited to talk NBA Finals with him. Excited to talk Joe Burrow with you. The Bengals restructured Joe Burrow's contract. What was your reaction the moment you saw this? We already had today's show planned. Obviously, that went out the door. We completely altered it. But yesterday afternoon, Joe Burrow's contract restructure happens. And Marisa Contipelli's reaction was?
Finally! I've been waiting. I feel like I've been asking for months for this to happen. No, I was like, it's about time because it was a need, a necessity. They had to get this done if we want to add either other pieces to this roster or if they're going to be looking to extend a few players here. It just frees up an extra $10 million. That's going to be so valuable for them to have some flexibility. So, yeah, my reaction was finally because it was, for me, a matter of when, not if.
Yeah, it was mostly an exhale that they are really all in this year. And then the wheel started turning. What could it mean? Is it just additions? Is it extensions? Is it both? And I think that's where the optimism rolls in, is all of that stuff became more likely yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's it, is what's next. And,
right.
And everyone now is thinking about what could be next and what's most likely to be next. I think that they are gearing up to keep number 0 in town. It feels like that is it. Is DJ Turner, how sticky he was in coverage, how hard it is to find a corner of that caliber that he's developed into. I think they think he can be a leader, but regardless, one of the best cover corners in the league. You combine that with Dax Hill as well, and you feel really good about that cornerback room this year. I think they're going to sign one of them. I think DJ Turner's the priority, and I would not be shocked at all if that's where their focus is now after the Joe Burrow restructure.
I hope DJ is the priority. I mean, the numbers don't lie. His play spoke for itself last year and how he was able to lock down and shut down number 1 receivers. And also, not to read into it, but letting him change to number 0, I don't think you let a player have that drastic of a number change, and especially to a number like 0, if you're not, I don't know, going to reward him with some type of contract extension.
One of the first defensive players in Bengals history to wear a single-digit number, joining Brian Cook also this offseason, and the first 0 in Bengals history. So I certainly don't think that's nothing. It was my first thought when those numbers came across, is that they're at least working towards an extension. And I think DJ Turner absolutely should be the priority out of all the names that are possible for an extension this offseason. and really that's to no fault of Dax Hill's own. When Dax has been on the outside, he's been a dominant corner, one of the top 10 corners through the last half of last season on the outside when he switched there full time, and DJ just has a position locked down for him. Dax has played all across the defense since he got here. I don't think there's necessarily as much confidence that he is the number one outside corner since we saw it from DJ last year. Now, I think the excitement for this season, where I know we all stand, is we want to sign them both because we think that's an elite cornerback duo. But when talking about the priority, I certainly do think it should lean to DJ Turner right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it should. Let's take DJ out of it because we're all going to agree there. What do you think is next most likely or realistic? Veteran addition, whether it's nickel corner or linebacker, Dax Hill extension, one of the other extensions that we've certainly talked about and can cover in depth, but the Chase Brown decision, Miles Murphy, even Jordan Battle, I'll throw him in there. What else could this be for? Is it for a veteran? Is it for one of those guys?
I hope it's an addition. Part of me hopes it's an addition, but the one that I thought probably jumps up the list a little bit is Miles Murphy, because I think the conversation around Murphy is so much different than the other players because he's an ascending young player, because you took him in the first round and you declined that fifth-year option. Even Dax Hill, which I think a lot of us thought was going to be a bigger conversation last offseason, they took his fifth-year option and then turned around and declined Miles this year. So I think there is maybe some incentive to get an extension done at a more agreeable number for Miles and keep him here long term, because with all the questions that were answered this offseason on defense, adding in a new one to the edge room that just doesn't really feel necessary to add doesn't seem like the best way to do business. But I do think there's a pretty big drop off from 1 to 2, and I'm not sure what I'd prefer, a Miles Murphy extension or an outside addition.
I struggle with that too. I think I lean outside addition because I especially look at that linebacker room, and I know I've been harping on it, sign a Bobby. I think they need to add some type of piece there to complement Demetrius and Barrett Carter. But when I talked with Bengals assistant GM Steve Radicevic, I asked him if you're competent or this roster is complete, if you're looking to keep adding pieces to it, and he didn't obviously come out and say it, but his answer kind of like led me to believe where maybe they're still looking at potentially bringing something in. If you missed that interview, we do have it up on our First Word YouTube page, so go and check it out. It was a great conversation with Steve. I think I have to lean that way, whether it's I feel like linebacker, like you said, a veteran nickel corner, some other piece on this defense feels like it would make the most sense for me for them to try to add a piece to.
Bigger impact this season, outside addition for sure, but most of those outside additions that we've talked about, probably one-year deals for aging players. That's why I think it's so much of a discussion.
Are we sure Bobby Wagner has more of an impact than contract-free or worry-free Dax Hill?
Right. No, that's a good point.
We've seen it, and I think the refreshing thing about getting Cassius Howell done when they did, the entire rookie class signed now, Dalton Reisner ahead of free agency, like this whole offseason, really the only thing that felt too late was the big swing in Dexter Lawrence, but they still got that done before the draft and were able to build around him. Like, I think that's what's interesting is the juggle, because I know Dax is good, and I know he matters. Would they pay 2 corners? I think that's a whole can of worms that they're trying to weigh, and I think it's unlikely. It feels unlikely, and it's probably going to be one. But what if DJ is like, I'm going to bet on myself because I want $25 million per?
Right.
Yeah. It's a very real possibility, and if that happens, then do they pivot to Dax? Do they pay Dax and Miles? Do Dax and Miles cost $3 million more than DJ wants? Who knows? I'm not sure the exact scenario. Can you get Dax and Chase Brown for the price of DJ? Probably not, but I'm just throwing out different scenarios that they're definitely going to have to work through. But they knew that they needed the flexibility, and they gave themselves the flexibility with this restructure. They haven't done this before. It's really refreshing because we've said that multiple times this offseason about different things. Trading a top 10 pick for a player. They've never done that. They get Dexter Lawrence in the building. And then doing this, a restructure with Joe Burrow, and room to continue to do that. They can do it again next year. They can sign him to an extension, which I think could come up if he plays well this season. Next offseason, they could sign him to an extension. So they have options, but they need to add. And I totally get why you guys are like, add for this year, because Dax Hill is going to be here. DJ Turner is going to be here. Chase Brown, Miles Murphy, any of these extension candidates, they are going to be here this year, and you want to win now. Now, the urgency needs to be high.
Yeah, it's amazing how many concerns and questions that are talked about the Bengals offseason or the roster or the coaching staff or anything else just get thrown away if they win a championship. You go all in for this year, which they've started to do. All of these worries and conversations go out the window. The way the Bengals organization is viewed on a national level goes out the window. So much around Joe Burrow and other stars, Jamar Chase on this defense goes out the window. So I think that's why so much focus comes into adding for this year, giving this roster the best chance to hold that Lombardi Trophy in February, because it does feel so close. It feels like they've done the mind-boggling moves that you don't expect from the Bengals front office to fix some of these position groups that felt so far away over the last few years. And there's just a few that are sagging behind. And if they could answer those questions, then they are looking like one of the best teams in the league. And I think just being as close as they've ever been to that on paper best in the league, I think that's where that pressure comes from.
And that's where I'm like, I feel like there's just like one missing, maybe two missing pieces to this team. I believe that they've been all in this offseason. We've heard Duke Tobin, so as much tell us so, but I've still kind of felt like, they're just like one puzzle piece away from truly feeling like it is all in. And after the news of this restructure came out yesterday, I was like, all right, this feels like pieces are getting into place, whether it's extending someone long term or adding another piece to this defense. I'm assuming it would be the defense. I don't know where else on offense you would look to add anything. I know offense wins championships in James's mind, but defense could still use a little bit more love.
$10 million. That's Alvin Kamara room.
She's talking.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
She's talking about. Look at you. Just
it's 1-to-1.
She's talking about puzzle pieces. We know that puzzle piece in her mind is named Bobby. Up next, where do Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor rank among quarterback head coach duos? We'll dive into that as First Word rolls on a Hump Day edition, right here on The Crouch.
On the radio here in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati has always felt like home.
Right here on the Crown Network.
Out and about in Cincinnati, bringing you these stories that you need to hear in the Queen City.
When people think of St. Vincent de Paul, Cincinnati, they're thinking of the thrift stores. Our market research showed that pretty heavily. And they actually had a huge gap in mission clarity, understanding what we really do. Most people had no idea that we do homelessness prevention support, that we are a leader in providing emergency assistance when someone's about to be evicted or foreclosed on. Most people had no idea. Last year we gave out $17 million worth of medication. We gave out $7 million worth of food and nearly $4 million in housing and utilities assistance. When people are shopping in the thrift store, they often go, I don't know, they're probably providing jobs to people. I don't know. There's definitely, or they probably do a food drive somewhere around here. Like there's these assumptions about St. Vincent de Paul, and then there's the actual impact that they have no idea they're making possible. So the last couple years, we've brought everybody on a journey of when you donate to the thrift store, what does that become? You might be donating a box of clothes, but we are turning that into a box of food for a family. Or you might be donating, a lamp, and we're able to make that into a medication with the sale of that. And so it's exciting to educate the community. The thrift stores are strong. We added the Hamilton one up in Butler County. That was our first Butler County one. That was so exciting. That was last year. It's going very well. Milford, we bought the old Big Lots out there. And so now we have 2 buildings, and then we have the pharmacy. So there's 3 buildings out there for now. We'll see how as we keep growing. It's just, there's so much exciting growth. There's so much trust from the community. And it feels like a huge duty of ours to protect and steward that trust and keep increasing our impact, honestly, and partnering well.
Get there, but there's just everybody has a question mark right now.
No question about it. You're absolutely right. But I think where I'm at right now is we see players in the NFL every single year surprise and disappoint in terms of the production over their careers. And for the Bengals right now, every defense in the NFL is just on paper. Whether it's a coaching change or roster changes or whatever it is, some more than others. I understand that. The Bengals probably leading that group in terms of the overall changes they made to their defense this year. But in terms of on paper, this defensive line is really, really good to me. And I think when you're comparing it to everyone else in the league, the depth is what sets them apart. Maybe you don't have that killer, but having Dexter Lawrence in the middle and Jonathan Allen, not as the marquee guy on the defensive line, but as a second fiddle kind of to Dexter Lawrence, I think just really frees him up to hopefully tap back into some fountain of youth stuff there. And then you said 2 out of the 3 in the edge room need to hit in order to have success, and you're absolutely right. But I just think the Bengals having more bites at the apple here this year to get those 2 that hit, give them a better chance of that coming to fruition.
Every morning, Cincinnati wakes up and gets to work. Companies are built, deals are made, restaurants open, ideas become careers, and every day the people behind it all sit down at the working lunch. Founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, community leaders, the people building Cincinnati. The Working Lunch with Jack Crumley, weekdays, noon to 1, only on The Crown.
It's called a Hump Day 5K. That's what we're doing. On the First Word YouTube channel, we are at 5K. Thank you so much for supporting us. This is only show 8. This is only show 8.
That's great.
Let's go be great. Yeah, that's right. Let's
There
go
we go.
right now. Look, mindset is just right here. Yeah, baby.
And after the show, James is going to run a 5K.
That's right.
If we get 5K subs before the end of the show, I'll run a 5K and I'll live stream the whole thing. You get us to 10 before the end of the show.
Then you run a 10K.
Done. I'll do that. I'd run a half.
Viewers, let's make this
If we
happen,
could get
please.
5,000 subs on YouTube right now, I'd run a half after the show. That's
and
it.
I would be there on the sideline supporting you both.
Marisa would be cheering along, and we certainly hope that you like the show so far. Plenty to get to. We'll dive into Joe Burrow coming up in a bit. We've got some Reds talk on the way. John Fanta going to join us to preview the NBA Finals coming up in just 10 minutes. But let's dive into this because every year, and it's off-season, and this is what happens in the off-season, but Sports Illustrated did their head coach quarterback duos and ranking them, and they rank every single one. Shocker, the Cleveland Browns, 32nd. We don't know what their coach is. We certainly don't know what their quarterback is, but that gives you an idea. The Minnesota Vikings, 20th. The Baltimore Ravens, 16th, and I think that's an interesting one. The Bengals, all the way up to 10th. Zach Taylor ranked the 18th best head coach. Joe Burrow, the 5th best quarterback. Combine that together, 10th in the NFL. Buy or sell that Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor is the 10th best head coach quarterback combo, quarterback head coach combo in the NFL.
I'm going to sell it. I think that should be higher. They should be in the, I don't know, maybe top 7, top 6. I felt like 10 was just pretty low.
That was my gut reaction as well, and I don't know how low it is. I think it's pretty close to the range I'd have. It was anywhere from about that 7 range to 10. I think there's so many questions to be asked about A, Joe Burrow's health, and B, Zach Taylor and missing the playoffs 3 years in a row. So I do think the peak of these guys when they've been together might be number 1 on this list. But over the last 3 seasons, it's been really bumpy. So I think this is more of a prove-it stat than anything else at this point.
I don't know. I look at some of the other duos that are ahead of them. I mean, the Bears, Johnson and Williams, still so unproven with those two. Jacksonville, I mean, absolutely Joe Burrow is obviously better than Trevor Lawrence, but even Liam Cohen, I don't know. I think I would still take Zach Taylor over him. And like even Seattle, I know they're coming off of the Super Bowl, but it's Sam Darnold. Like, I don't know.
Get him.
Yeah, it's to be fair to the rankings, it is Sam Darnold, but I'd take Mike McDonald over Zach Taylor.
Yeah, but we're talking about the duo of the two.
Is the discrepancy between, so do you think the discrepancy between Darnold and Burrow is bigger than the discrepancy?
Do you think the Seahawks win the Super Bowl with Zach Taylor as head coach and Joe Burrow as the quarterback last year?
For sure.
But that's
They also won it with McDonald and Darnold.
No doubt, but I think they, yes.
I think they would have won it with Taylor and Darnold. No?
I don't think so.
I think that's interesting.
I don't think so at all.
I don't. I think that defense
because
is
that
much
defense
different.
is Mike McDonald calls that defense, and that defense is what won in the championship.
Yeah. I get it though. I get the logic, and that's what it is. That's what's interesting about this is like you look at these Harbaugh, Herbert, and I'm a big Jim Harbaugh. Like I believe,
and I'm a big Herbert guy.
Punt it to the sun. There's no way they're 4th.
No.
4th? What have they done?
Yeah.
What have they done?
Correct.
The Chargers are known for not doing any Nah, man.
I have a bigger issue with 3.
Did you?
Vrabel and May.
Yeah.
Quite literally 1 year with the easiest schedule in the entire league.
They were in the Super Bowl.
Because Bo Nix broke his ankle.
Outside of all the off the field stuff, Mike Vrabel, is he the best head coach in the league? Because if he's not 1, he's 2 or 3. He's way better than Zach Taylor.
Agreed there, but
I like Zach.
I don't
but
have
come on.
Vrabel ranked nearly that high in the league. He doesn't call any plays.
So?
I think that's a huge,
You taking McVay over Vrabel?
Absolutely.
I think it's close.
I don't.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I think the top two on this list is worlds ahead of who would ever be three.
You think so?
Significantly.
I think Andy Reid lost his fastball, and we need to pay attention to that this year. Maybe he gets it back. But my goodness, last year was rough. You mentioned Mahomes.
I absolutely agree.
That's a Reid thing as much as it's anything. Mahomes didn't just forget how to play.
No question.
And so I'm monitoring.
They also have the hardware to prove it at this point. I think so much of this in the offseason ranking these things is looking back as much as it is looking forward. And with those, Mahomes and Reid's success together, it's really hard to justify anyone being above them, I guess, other than maybe a McVay or Stafford.
The thing that I think is interesting about this, they are number one in the North. There's no one. We didn't mention, obviously, Cleveland, but we didn't mention the Ravens being in the top 10. The Bengals, 10th. We will see if they deliver. We'll see if they rise in those rankings. But plenty to get to. Up next, we'll dive into NBA with John Fanta. Will join us live ahead of Knicks Spurs Game 4 right here on First Wave. Jeff Passan predicts that the Reds will be sellers at the trade deadline. And here's what he wrote. Objective, stop living at 500 and play like a playoff team. If they were to unload someone, it would be Brock Burke, who pitched well earlier this week. And if they were to get someone, it could be Taylor Ward, the outfielder, to give them some outfield help, which I think everybody would agree with. You buying this? You buying that the Reds could be sellers, will be sellers at the deadline?
I certainly think it's an option, and they're headed that direction. But this has to be the fourth, maybe fifth year in a row that the Reds' ideal trade deadline target's listed as Taylor Ward. So nice to see that keep coming around. First, it was when he was with the Angels. Now on an expiring deal with the Orioles. He's a free agent this offseason, so expect more conversation when he hits the market this offseason. But the first thing I thought of with this was if the Reds are going to unload someone at the deadline and it's a relief pitcher, what does the second half of this season look like for Reds fans in the bullpen?
Were you? No, hell no. Why were you there? To have a drink. How old were you? I was in my 20s. Yeah. You've told me this story before, and it started. You said that you were working, and then you went to the Pavilion because that was the cool spot at the time. Which, by the way, it was cool when I was a kid too. R.I.P. to the Pavilion in Cincinnati, Ohio. And that you were waiting for Dad, my dad, on the back patio. Yeah, I was. I'm watching these 3 red balls in the sky. I was sitting with people, and I wouldn't tell anyone. Really? No, I would not, because I thought, they'll think I'm nuts. Yeah. But I'm watching these things, and then they zoomed off. Well, so fast. Have you ever seen anything like that since? No. All right, so that explains a lot, because all growing up, you were obsessed with the movie Alien. I saw the movie Alien when I was 5. And I was bad. Yeah, you were bad. I also saw the movie. I was. I also saw the movie It when I was 5 and had nightmares and peed the bed for a decade after that. I peed the bed for so long and had nightmares from watching the movie It when I was a kid. And you watched X-Files a lot, just all Stephen King stuff, supernatural and alien stuff. I'm very into Stephen King. You did read all the books too. I did. I did. And I missed that tremendously, being able to read a book. Yeah. Oh. Well, so this is my mom. Hello. Hi, my name is hi, my name is Natalie Jones. And this is my mother, Mary Beth. And actually, what is your last name?
Welcome to First Word, Cincinnati's only morning sports show, breaking down the biggest moments and the stories shaping Cincinnati sports with analysis that cuts through. First Word, setting the agenda in Cincinnati sports.
It looks great. Paul Frischner is here. I'm James Rapien. This is First Word alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Tissot. We are your morning sports show, Cincinnati. Look at you. We're just cutting you off.
There we go.
There we go.
There we go.
Hi,
Hey, Cincinnati. How are you?
Look, PDF is here. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Paul David.
Thanks for having me on. How we doing?
Glad you showed up this time.
Yeah, let's
there
clap
it
it up.
is.
Paul
Strong
showed
start.
up on time. Yeah, let's go. He showed up on time.
All right.
First topic today.
Let's start. Paul Frischner, the Rebound Rundown. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow wherever you get your podcasts. And we're going to talk college hoops with you in a second. But you know what we're going to do first?
I think we're going to bring on the Fanta Man.
Yeah, the Fanta Man. The one and only John Fanta is here to talk all things NBA Finals. Let's go. Let's welcome John in. And there he is. John, we appreciate the time. Thanks for jumping on First Word. You have any fun stories about Paul before we dive into the NBA Finals? I would certainly love if you shared one or two.
Wow. Well, you know, the first thing, it's great to be with you guys. Congratulations on your launch. I think that this is fantastic for Cincinnati sports fans and beyond. I think you guys are going to make it an incredible impact. So thanks for having me on. It's a thrill to be on First Word. Let's go. My Paul Frischner story. Well, number one, this is a guy who he has a napkin in his car. He's got a full size like you would have at a wedding. And he uses that for meals in his vehicle. So that's one of the biggest takeaways that I have on Paul Frischner. And also that Paul Frischner doesn't like chicken wings, which there is not a world that I could imagine where I would not. I mean, subject matter shown. I have to have a chicken wing. Are you kidding me? He tried it recently. I think you did, Paul, but I couldn't believe it took you 20-plus years to have a wing.
What is going on? I'm sitting next to him right now. I don't know if I can, John, because wings are a must. Paul, explain yourself.
Yeah, no, we go out to the restaurant. My first thought is never like, I'm going to get 12 wings.
Right, because it's 15.
I'm never going to get 15 wings.
I don't think John understands what he did to the office this afternoon. It's going to be chicken wings until we leave today.
Today?
All week.
Forever.
Thanks, John.
You're not a wing guy?
Thanks, John.
You're not a wing. You a player? What are you? I can't believe it. John.
Well, sounds like this will be my first and last word on this show.
No, it will not. If anything, this is more motive. We're going to bother you more for more Paul stories. Anytime we need ammo. Yeah.
In all seriousness, Paul and I we've been doing games and coverage of college basketball and beyond. We had called the Big East baseball tournament a number of years in a row, and Paul's one of my favorite people in the business. So he's the best. His star is only just beginning to rise because I think it's only going to continue to. And a great broadcast partner and somebody I've always loved sharing the stage with or sharing a broadcast with.
Yeah. No, Paul is the man. He would be even more the man if he enjoyed chicken wings.
You gotta ask him about the car etiquette of eating another time. That's for probably a different.
They haven't seen it, John. They haven't seen what I have under the driver's seat in my car. They don't know. They've never been exposed to it. This is a new crew to it. Yes.
He's gonna have to show you guys during a commercial break what's going on in going on in the car. That's all I'm gonna say.
In the Frischner mobile.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
It's bad.
Would it help?
I'm not proud of it.
Yeah. I have so many questions, but we do need to talk to this John Fanta about the NBA Finals. So let's go there. Does it feel like to you that the winner of tonight's game is going to win the Finals?
You know what? I don't know if I'm ready to say that. I think in a lot of series you would say yes because of momentum swinging and whatnot. But guys, I think the Knicks are a better team on the road. They clearly are. I mean, first off, the amount of fan support that they get away from their building, it's noticeable on these broadcasts, and based on people that I've talked to that have been on site, it's noticeable there. They seem to play looser when they're on the road. Here's the thing. There have been adjustments in this series. So San Antonio in Game 3, they put Victor Wembanyama in a place where they said, you know what, you're going to take away the corner. In the first 2 games of the series, the Knicks shot 15 of 28 from 3. That's no bueno for San Antonio. In Game 3, the Knicks, some of their shot makers that were hitting those threes in Games 1 and 2, Josh Hart was making his shots early in Game 3, but like Landry Shamet had made some huge shots in Games 1 and 2. Mikal Bridges in Game 2 was fantastic. Mikal Bridges was not very good in Game number 3. And the Knicks, those complimentary shots did not fall. And also Jalen Brunson fell into some hero ball in Game number 3. So a series has adjustments. And I think when you're dealing with 2 talents like Victor Wembanyama and Karl Anthony Towns, Towns who swings everything for the Knicks. If Towns plays well, the Knicks win. He didn't play well in Game 3. He had 11 points on 10 shot attempts. That's the formula for San Antonio. And I just think with Wembanyama, I am not going to sit here and say, because I've never seen anything like him on a basketball court. Got to cover a couple of his games in person this past year. I was just amazed at the specimen. He's unlike anything we've seen. For me, I like that guy too much to think that if they go down 3-1, that they can't win Game 5, and then all of the pressure will be on New York in a Game 6.
Yep. All right, John. They bring the college basketball guy. First of all, it's great to see you. It's great to see you, John.
Great to see you too.
Bring the college basketball guy on. I'm going to ask the college basketball question. We've talked so much about all these guys that have played at Madison Square Garden in these big games as Big East players. You look on the San Antonio side, Champagnie, Steph Castle. You look at the Nova Knicks on that side. And how many games that you and I have sat there and watched at Madison Square Garden, how many huge shots they've hit in their college careers. I just want to ask you personally, what was it like the other night sitting there watching those guys compete in Madison Square Garden at this level? Because I'm listening to Mike Breen at the very end when Steph Castle steps the line, and you know, Mike Breen says he's hit some huge free throws here as a college player at UConn, and now they're at this stage on the world stage. Can you just kind of reflect on that and what that means maybe for the college game now translating into the NBA Finals?
Well, it shows you why Yaxel Lendeborg, Marez Johnson, and Adai Mara should all get taken in the lottery in this year's draft. We shouldn't overcomplicate things. If you've won in college and you've won at a high level in college, or you've shown efficiency in the college game, today's NBA is about roles. Role allocation has never been more important. And Stephon Castle understands his role on this team. Now, I think it's even bigger than the Spurs originally thought. I think it's even bigger than Steph originally thought, because I didn't see him coming out of college and playing as much point guard as he's played. But he's an elite defender. And Connecticut, you know, their first national championship in 23 of this run that they've been on, Castle wasn't a part of that. They had an elite offense, and they had a good defense, but they had an unbelievable offense. In 24, they had an elite everything. And the reason why they were outstanding defensively was because of Stephon Castle. So what it does, Paul, is, you know, it makes you, when you're watching these guys in college, like, let's not try to dissect to a point where we're getting away from the facts. All Stephon Castle has done is win. Now, Julian Champagnie was on some weaker St. John's teams, but if you watched Julian Champagnie, you knew two things. Number one, he was a bucket, and number two, he played the right way. He played the right way. He had amazing feel in college, and he understands that his role with the San Antonio Spurs is to be a catch-and-shoot guy, and he is that. And he contributes in other ways too, but he's really delivering to that end. As for the Villanova guys, look, the 2017-18 Villanova team is the best college team that I've covered. They dominated you, and in ways that other teams that have also been dominant, they didn't do what this Villanova team did in 17-18. You could not touch them. In the NCAA tournament, it was laughable. We went to the Final Four in San Antonio, and it was just an act of formality. Like Connecticut in 24, it felt like that too. But man, this was just. They still had to play Zach Edey in the final. It was like maybe Purdue could hang around. They didn't. But here's the thing: in 17-18, like Bridges, Brunson, and their ability to just will their team. Brunson was in total, and I mean total control. So what it does is it shows that the guys who are dominating college basketball, which now more than ever it's semi-pro basketball. You got a lot of guys coming back to the college game to make money, more money than they would make in the pros. If they do that, let's not get stupid. Like these guys can do it at the next level, and they are.
Talked about the guy doing it at the highest level at Villanova. Jalen Brunson has been the engine for this Knicks team really since this core got here, but he hasn't been Jalen Brunson so far in these finals, shooting 37% from the field, as many turnovers as he has assists so far this series. How have the Knicks been able to get out to a 2-1 lead with him playing the way he is, and can they win this series if he doesn't turn it around?
They can't win this series if he doesn't turn it around, and they won't win this series if he doesn't turn it around. It's a great question and an awesome point. And for me, how have they been able to win 2 of the first 3 games? Well, I thought game 1 was a feeling out game. Let's look at it this way. All 3 games have gone down to the final minute or 2. I mean, they've all been down to the wire games. So, like, when people expressed that they were surprised in game 3, I was kind of thinking to myself, that's a little disrespectful to San Antonio. You know, we're acting like they got their butts kicked by 20 in each of the first 2 games. No, they were in both games. They're a young team. I mean, the franchise should run the league for years to come, provided Wembanyama.
All right, we'll try to catch up with John here in a second. He's working on his audio, no big deal there. We'll reconnect with him in a second here on First Word. Diving more into the NBA, in the NBA Finals, I think that you're totally right about Brunson. I think Bridges is another one.
Absolutely.
In Game 3, we noticed him in Game 2, does the awesome interview. Yeah. Game 3, you don't notice him offensively, at least. And that it's going to have to change. You're at home. Role players usually step up at home. But your stars, your studs, the 2 Bs, Bridges, Brunson, obviously we know about Cat. They're going to have to play big tonight.
Even in the loss in Game 3, Josh Hart scored more than he had through the first 2. Mikal Bridges playing really well. So there's a supporting cast around Brunson that can pick up that slack, but we know he's the engine.
Yeah, and we're going to bring John back in with us now. And John, I have to ask one more Knicks question for you. So Karl Anthony Towns, you know, for the most part has had a really strong postseason. He's plus 245, the highest plus minus in a single postseason. But he has 0 points in the fourth quarter in this series. It was something that I saw, and I was like, how in the world is that possible? Is that at all concerning for, you know, the Knicks for the duration of the series, looking to, you know, close out a finals win? Or is that something that maybe we're reading a little bit too much into?
Well, I don't think we're reading too much into it. Karl Anthony Towns is the matchup nightmare to the Spurs. He really is. And his ability to mobilize Wembanyama, get Wembanyama moving defensively, making Wembanyama work, that changes the game. You know, that's just it here. They're up 2-1, and Brunson has not been particularly good, and Towns has not been a factor in key moments in the game. That should bode well for the Knicks, though. They're up 2-1 with those things happening. You know, I think that for Towns, they got to get him touches. You have to make a conscious decision. Now, San Antonio's defense has something to do with this, and it's a big reason why Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby was fantastic in Game 3. It's the best I've seen him play. Those guys are cashing in. Shamet as well. But for me, this series lies in the hands of Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns and whether or not they play to their maximum capabilities. If they do, the Knicks will be champions. They need 2 wins. And they've gotten 2 with – Game 1 was a feeling-out game. And the reason why Brunson has struggled at times is because, you could play Castle, you could play at the cell. You've got Wembanyama down in the paint, and everything funnels to him. For Towns can capitalize in this matchup. He's doing it in the first 3 quarters of these games. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But they've got to, at times with Karl Anthony Towns, I think that he undersells how much of a difference he makes in the game. You got to go and get it. This is the NBA Finals. And I think he will go and get it tonight. I think that the Knicks will respond tonight and get a win. But if they don't, then panic's going to set in a little bit here because you were up 2-0, and now you got to go back to San Antonio, and you're playing the face of the league now, who would have momentum and control. And I'm not. That's why when you said, James, do you think the winner of tonight is going to be champion? Look, there's a solid shot, but in this series, with the amount of talent, with the quality of games, all 3 of these games have gone down to the last possession or last 2 possessions. That means it's flip a coin late. It's a couple of plays. So we'll see what happens tonight. But you guys are right. It's a terrific point. Cat has got to be a factor late in these games for the Knicks to be the best version of themselves.
And I think if he is, it puts the pressure on Wembanyama. And that's what I think is interesting about this is you look at the Western Conference Finals and what Victor did, and it was like almost on again, off again. They're down 3-2, and then he plays great in 2 straight. But he played great in 4 games. He didn't play as great in 3 of the games. They win 4 out of 7. Do you think it's a 2-day off type of thing where 2 games in 48 hours, that's it, from Monday to Wednesday? Or what is it with Wemby? Because I do think that that's a huge factor. And if Karl Anthony Towns can take it to him, especially in the fourth quarter a little bit, and keep him off balance, I think that would go a long way toward neutralizing the best player on the court, certainly the face of the league, as you mentioned.
Well, it starts with the defensive end. You have to be disruptive to Wembanyama and make it tough for him to get catches. You have to make him work to get his buckets. Because if you're making him work when he is scoring, you're at least making it harder on him. And then that exhausts him. I think in the first 2 games, you saw Wembanyama get tired. We'll see tonight. You know, it's a terrific point. Remember, there was not a finals game on Sunday. And that extra day of rest seemed to help Wemby. Now how's a couple of days in New York City? How is that done for him? We'll see. But they've got to defend him. I thought the Knicks, in Game 3, for the first time on this run, it was their first loss in over 40 days, I thought they let some missed shots affect how they defended. That's not a good formula against the Spurs. The Spurs are quick. They move. Even off makes, they're looking for transition. And Castle got downhill, and Dylan Harper got downhill, and De'Aaron Fox supplied some calming plays. Remember, Fox made the shot of the game with 12 seconds to go in the game. But it starts with the defensive end. The Knicks cannot get away from who they've been defensively on this run. They have been physical. They've been tough. They've made teams uncomfortable. It hasn't mattered the opponent. And then their offense has been an avalanche. Your offense is sometimes going to blink against an elite defense. I thought their offense blinked in Game 3, and then they allowed that to dictate how they played defense.
All right, John, last question here before we go to break. You're the lead voice of college basketball for NBC, so I'm not going to let you get out of here without asking you one question for the Cincinnati fans that are watching this. Jared Calhoun takes over the program for the Bearcats, a dynamic hire, somebody that has ties to the program. What are your thoughts on Cincinnati going back to the well, getting a Cincinnati guy, and how much he can change that program?
Well, I think he's changing it already. I expect Cincinnati basketball to be back on the map. I expect them to be an NCAA tournament program again. And you just look at what he's done in the transfer portal, going all over, bringing a couple of guys with him from Utah State that'll certainly be helpful. Going and getting Tyler Tejada from Towson. That guy is ready for the high major level. He's a 6'9" wing who can do it all, score at a number of levels. You go and you get Miles Colvin, who's a 6'5" guy who's been around the block, a couple of high major schools, but I think is a player and can really play. You look at their roster, and they did a nice job of identifying different guards who provide length and versatility. And when you hire Jared Calhoun, it instantly, I think, just changes the complexion of your program because you get one of your guys, he gets the program, he understands the area, and he understands he's a grinder, man. You know, he really is. You do it at Youngstown State and Utah State, you've got something cooking. And I think when you look at what they did with their roster, they did a really nice job. But I can't, to me, the crosstown shootout is about to have new life in Cincinnati.
Oh,
because Jared Calhoun can be at Cincinnati a long time, and Richard Pitino will be at Xavier a long time. Richard Pitino brings in a roster at Xavier that is legit. And when you look at Jovan Milicevic and Ruben Dominguez and the shot-making possibilities there, they bring in Chance Westry. They brought in True Washington, who I think is a fascinating player. Mike Nwoko in the paint, among others. The Xavier Musketeers are going to take off. They have a makeup that could say top 25 good. Cincinnati has a makeup that says they're going to be a factor in the Big 12, can be a tournament team. Folks around the area in Cincinnati, you are in for a promising college basketball season with a lot of juice, new buzz, and that rivalry come December will be high level.
I love it. I love hearing that about both schools. They need to be in the tournament, John. We need to be talking about 2 tournament teams. I'm sick of not being able to do that. It's been way too long. So hopefully that's the case. John, you're the best. I appreciate you giving us the ammo for Paul. We're going to make fun of his lack of wing eating, and we certainly appreciate your time.
Give him hell, James. I can't believe this guy. It's just, no, he's the best. But maybe some wings on the air. I might DoorDash him over to First Word to see if Paul could try a couple on the air.
When you're in town, I'll take you to what I think is the best wing place in the area, and everyone's going to ask me about it, so we'll get to that at some point during the show. But, John, we appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys. Have a great day.
Great stuff there. Yeah, we can't take you to the best wing place if you're not going to eat the wings. He's going to say, hey,
I'll eat the wings.
Can I have some celery?
I hadn't eaten them at a high level before a couple of years ago when John, showed me the ways of the world.
No, there's no way. There's just no way getting out of this.
No. I'm not trying to get out of it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying the situation has somewhat rectified itself.
A little?
A little bit. As soon as he started that answer, you knew what this would become, correct?
Oh, 1,000%. Okay. He could have gone with anything else to rim me. It would have been better than what he gave me. Way better.
The wing thing? Oh, my goodness.
The wing thing.
Well, if you want to watch a guy that doesn't like chicken wings, make sure you check out Rebound Rundown.
What a team!
Up next, Eric All, ready to ball? That's next on First Word. Crazy what goes into game planning against Dexter. If you can give us some of that, because that's obviously what defenses are going to be doing all season long. Offenses.
I mean, I'm not going to. We had a good plan against him in New York in 24. He got like a sloppy one kind of late in the play.
Sure.
I mean, that was when he was leading the league in sacks too. So his film, he's horrifying as a center going into games like that with a guy of that size and speed. Really, what I try to focus on when we're game planning for a guy of that caliber is, on the rank and file plays where we can get him doubled, let's get him doubled. And then when your number's called and he's on your dance card, you got to come through as much as you can. And I think that's going to cause a lot of stress for opposing centers, which brings me glee.
Joe makes the comment, and I read it. I was in the room, but I read it, and I was like, he didn't say that. And I was in the room when he said it, but he's like, we're going to go out there and win a Super Bowl this year. And he just said it so nonchalant. I was like, no, he said go out and try to win a Super Bowl. And then I went back and, no, he said go out and win a Super Bowl. When you see that from QB1 in May, and it was May at the time, what goes through your mind? What tone does that set for the rest of the team and organization?
I think that's a great goal. And it's always our goal, but there's a lot of football to be played until then. So I don't concern myself with February 27 right now. We got Dexter again tomorrow, and there's a lot of work to be done. I think we're on the right track. I'm not a prediction guy. I'm an internal goals guy. I'll throw out. I'll throw out Super Bowl when it's appropriate, but as of June 2nd right now, I am going to just continue to do my job to the best of my ability.
What internal goals?
Well, always it's win the division. And so we started 2-0 last year, and then obviously all that happened with Joe, and so that was kind of we got that monkey off our back, but then, had a whole new set of issues. So, for the last couple of years, it's just let's start strong. So, to me, it starts with winning the division. You got to win your division. That's always the first goal. And then as we get going, Super Bowl is always the goal, overarching. we don't talk about that much internally. It did fire everyone up that Joe said that, and I love that. But we have a lot of things to work on before we're going to be touting Super Bowl after we missed the dance 3 years in a row.
Do you think that's by design for him?
Oh, yeah.
Like he knew, he was like, oh, I'm going to do that.
Oh, he does a great job with all. He's a very calculated man.
No, that's what I figured.
No, and we are all going for a Super Bowl, but there's a lot of work to be done to make that happen. It's not just we're talented on paper, and that's why we've had these last 2 OTAs have been, some of the best I've been a part of as a Cincinnati Bengal.
On the radio here in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati has always felt like home.
Right here on the Crown Network.
Out and about in Cincinnati, bringing you the stories that you need to hear in the Queen City.
Is it time for Eric All to ball? Welcome back to First Word. I'm James Rapien. He's Jacob Tissot and Marisa Contipelli. And man, oh man, I can't get over Paul Fritcher not liking chicken wings, but kind of liking chicken wings, but flirting with not liking chicken wings.
He hadn't eaten them at a high level.
Not sure what that means.
What does that mean?
It means we got to take Paul to get some good chicken wings.
I think you're right.
Guess what? Challenge accepted. We will do that, and we'll see if Sam's around to film it. That coming to a Rebound Rundown show near you. But let's dive into Eric All, because Eric All is and was a key piece of this Bengals offense when he was healthy in 2024. He's dealt with injury. He had the torn ACL at Iowa, tore his ACL as a rookie, and it was significant enough that they had to go back in and tweak it again surgically, and I don't know all of the things that went into it, but it's a really significant ACL injury. Missed all of last season, and now he's back. He was practicing. He practiced last week. Wasn't on the field yesterday for off-season workouts. I'm sure it's fine. T. Higgins wasn't there. That's a normal thing. And so it feels like Eric All realistically could contribute this season. Don't take my word for it. Here's what Zach Taylor had to say about All last week after All made his return to practice.
Yeah, it's challenging, to have the significance of the injuries that he's had, to miss a whole season, an extra season, really, half of the first one and then the whole second one. So I know it's been challenging for him. I think he's handled it really well. Now we're Now we're in the progression phase, getting back on the field, no contact or anything right now. We'll assess training camp as we get closer, but it's just been really good to get him on the field, have him back in the walkthroughs. I think mentally for him, that's probably been really helpful for him, just not standing over there doing the rehab phase of things. But he's got an attitude that you just love, and he loves football. That's very clear. He's very passionate about it. So to be able to get him back out there working with the guys has been big for all of us. He loves football, and he loves the physical portion of football. And that's the word physical in the dictionary is a picture of Eric All trying to put his face through somebody's soul. And that's the best way I can describe him.
I love hearing that from Zach Taylor because I have been so high on Eric All since they drafted him. He's just such a complete tight end, and it's one of those where you don't know how the Bengals are going to go when he's on the field. When Drew Sample's out there, they're probably running the ball. When Gesicki's out there, they're probably throwing the ball. but you have a little bit more mystery when Eric Gall is on the field, and watching him in glimpses and flashes in 2024 was so exciting. I enjoyed more of when he was in, a little bit more of like the pass protection and was getting some key blocks in. He's just such an exciting tight end prospect, and I still call him prospect because we haven't seen that much of him because he's had the injuries, and I really hope that is a thing of the past now for Eric Gall and not something that will continue to linger for him.
I was super excited when they took him in the 4th round. He was a player in that draft class that had no business being there in the 4th round if it wasn't for the injury history. And obviously, it's reared its ugly head already in his NFL career, but was a really exciting player at Michigan and at Iowa in his college career. Had almost 500 receiving yards his junior year at Michigan, got hurt his first year at Iowa, and then really succeeded that last year with almost 300 yards in an offense that doesn't throw the ball very often at Iowa. And this is a thing, you talk about the complete tight end and what he could bring to this offense. This is the thing the Bengals have really needed since Gesicki got here. Obviously, a great piece and really broke out in 2024 enough for a pretty sizable extension, but the need was really emphasized again this year by kind of hedging Eric Gall's recovery by drafting Jack Endries late in the draft that can fill that do-it-all tight end role as well. I think All could turn out to be the guy that maybe plays as much as anybody, if not more, at the true tight end position because of that versatility that he provides.
It would unlock a level that was being unlocked in 24. All the craziness that happened in 24, this offense had another gear that they couldn't get to because he got hurt.
Yep.
It was about to happen. It was starting to happen. You noticed Eric Gall more. He was getting more involved in the passing game. Marisa mentioned his blocking ability. When they had the joint practice with the Colts a couple of years ago, this is when I knew Eric Gall was that dude. It's because he got into a fight and was like super physical, which is what Zach Taylor just mentioned. And then afterward, I was talking to him, and he's a rookie. I didn't know. And when you get a tight end that has the ability to run routes and catch passes, usually that's what they love to do. And he was like, no, I love blocking. And he told me how much he loved blocking. Well, they need that. They need a guy that can block and also catch passes. And it's really hard to find. And they've had guys that can do the hybrid guys that can do one or the other at a really high level. He can do both. And he was just scratching the surface. And so if he can get back out there, that is one of the wild cards, one of the X factors for this team, one of the under-the-radar guys that could make such a difference. And we had Ben Baby on yesterday, and he was talking about this offense reaching another level. Part of that could involve number 83 being out there blocking and also being a threat in the passing game, because they have not had that at any point consistently at tight end in the Joe Burrow era.
Last year, the Bengals ranked 31st in EPA per play in 12 personnel, despite being top 5 in plays ran in 12 personnel. So that's one spot above the Browns, one spot below the Raiders. That is not a group that this offense should be in any statistic. And I think Eric Gall is really going to open up the opportunity to have a threat both in the blocking and receiving game with Gesicki when two tight ends are on the field.
Yeah, it's huge. We'll continue to follow it. Hopefully, we'll hear from Eric Gall in the near future. Hopefully, he has a big season. But up next, it is time for one of our favorite parts of the show. Contipelli's Countdown is next right here on First Word.
You're not getting college. You went to school for drama. Yes. Which is, let me tell you what. If any creatives out there who are not actively creating, it makes you go crazy. And I have witnessed firsthand a creative who didn't professionally create and had to take care of so many damn kids and husbands along the way, and it drove you crazy for so long. Now, as a grown woman at this point and been in my career as long as I have so much perspective on your life and how you were in all of your 30s and your 40s. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, you created in your home. You made, our homes were beautiful, but I feel like, oh my God, because when I don't create, I go nuts. Like, I go absolutely nuts.
I was busy, obviously. I was busy with my children. And
well, I'll say this. You had 4 kids by the time you were 28. We had a great life.
We did.
Yeah, we had a great life. We weren't the richest, we weren't the smartest, we weren't the anythingest ever, but we had a blast. Had a house, We had a dog, we had a pool, we went to school, we had a bunch of friends.
Thank God I had a rich mother. That helps a lot.
Man, I wonder what that's like. God.
You never know.
I won't. Not at all. Well, so now if you could give me any advice at 40 years old, single girl, what would you say?
Get pregnant. Immediately.
Well, there we go. If anyone's got some
All
strong
Tissot
DNA.
insemination. Just make sure the guy is smart and handsome.
Okay. True.
And oh man, if you look at Turner and you look at where cornerbacks are making, he's going to get paid. Like if you think he's going to get paid $15 million per year, you're mistaken. He's going to get that first number. That average annual value is going to start with a 2. And on the low end, I think it's going to be like $22 million per year. You're thinking like a 4-year, $88 million extension. And I'm not even sure that gets it done. Depends on the guarantees and the structure and all of those things. DJ Turner has a ton of value. He knows it. The Bengals know it. And how this goes, where this goes, it's going to come down to how close they can get to where he thinks his value will be next year if he plays well this year. Because that cornerback, just the cornerback market in general, is booming. And for good reason. Corners are really valuable. Wide receivers haven't been as valuable as in NFL history as they are right now. That means that cornerback market has started to boom, and you can see it right there.
On the radio here in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati has always felt like home.
Right here on the Crown Network.
Out and about in Cincinnati, bringing you these stories that you need to hear in the Queen City.
Joe Burrow restructured his contract with the Bengals. The Bengals restructured their contract with Joe Burrow. We'll dive into that coming up at 10 right here on First Word. I'm James Rapien alongside Jacob Tissot. You thought I was going to forget today. Jacob Tissot and Marisa Contipelli. It is time for Contipelli's Countdown right here on First Word.
That's right. And when trying to figure out how to lead off Countdown this morning, after I saw this post yesterday by our resident Ohioan, John Gruden, I knew we had to kick off Countdown with this post and what the Louisville Bats sent him. So let's take a listen.
Hey, Jake, look at this box. We haven't got a box signed like this, have we?
That's interesting.
It's a new box. You know where it's from?
No, tell me.
The Louisville Bats. You think about Louisville Bats, I start thinking of the Louisville Slugger baseball bats, man. But this is, look, the Louisville Bats. This is the AAA baseball team of the Cincinnati Reds. And when you say Cincinnati Reds, do I get excited?
Yeah.
I grew up in Ohio. First base, Tony Perez. Second base, Joe Morgan. Shortstop, Davey Concepcion. Pete Rose at third. Who was the catcher? Johnny freaking Bench. George Foster in left. Cesar Geronimo in center. Ken Griffey in right field. Probably Jack Billingham on the mound. Who knows? Pedro Borbon. Raleigh Eastwick. I love the Cincinnati Reds. I love the Louisville Bats. This is a mascot. It is a bat. It's called Buddy the Bat. These are like mammals. You know those bats that fly around?
I know bats, yep.
But it's a, I don't know what the word is. What's the word? You went to a private school. It kind of means the same thing. A word that means the same thing, like a baseball bat and a bat.
This was absolutely phenomenal.
It's a synonym, John.
I love this so much, John. Thank you for this video. His excitement, honestly, too, just rattling off all the players that he grew up watching, and just, I was getting so hyped watching him open a box that I'm still waiting to see what's inside the box.
Well, that's the best part about the John Gruden box videos is the box doesn't get opened until a few minutes into the video because he runs through the entire historical roster of whatever team it is. He is an encyclopedia out there, and it's great to see the Bats getting involved in the Gruden box games.
Yes. One, I love that they sent him this. Two, to Marisa's point, the fact that he goes down the big red machine and he's just going up and down the line. Love it. Nailed it. Three, look at that gear.
I know.
They sent him some fresh gear, and it's well-deserved. And the Gruden LB.
Love it.
If they had Gruden Louisville Bats jerseys for sale,
you'd have one.
I would buy them.
You for sure would.
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of people would buy this.
There's your idea, Louisville Bats. It paid off. But no, I love this. I love how excited he was. And the size of the box. Yeah, I love that he pointed that out as well, because he's like, pretty big box.
It's the best. And the Bats remain a mainstay on Contipelli's countdown.
They do. Continuing with not only the Louisville Bats, but another bat that we saw last night for the White Sox, Braden Montgomery making his MLB debut, becoming just the 5th player ever to hit a walk-off home run in his ML debut. A great moment for the rookie.
Yeah, it doesn't get much bigger than this. In your debut, finishing things off, he's going to remember this forever. Sandlot voice.
Yeah, and Braden Montgomery was the main return for the White Sox for the trade Garrett Crochet to the Red Sox. So to have him in his debut have a big hit like this, when a lot of fans were upset, they moved off Crochet back then. So definitely nice for White Sox fans. They've been a fun team to watch this year, and obviously a great start with a fun young core.
Yeah, had 2 hits in his debut.
Good to see that from the rookie. Moving on, though, in Countdown, an account that I really enjoy following is ML Football, and I saw them post this across socials, and it got me thinking, the top 10 hardest positions to play across all sports. Their list, they have NFL quarterback as 1, NHL goalie 2, MLB catcher 3, NFL cornerback 4. Those top 4, I know quarterback is an extremely difficult position, but for me, goalie, I think hands down, you have pucks flying at you at high rates of speed.
Really?
I think I don't know, I think goalie kind of outweighs quarterback for me on this one.
I think quarterback is by far. I get it, though, because if you give up a few goals, you're out. It's very much that way. But it's the same at quarterback, everything that goes into it. Not shocked to see quarterback top the list. I get the argument for goalie, especially with what we've seen in this year's Stanley Cup, where both goalies can't stop anything.
Yeah, my shocker on this list really came in at number 3. Catcher being the hardest position in baseball. Physically on the knees, sure, I guess, but now with ABS challenges and everything along those lines, you're not even calling pitches anymore. You're pressing a button on your knee, and now
he said your knees are fine with ABS challenges.
You're not framing. I mean, I know. You know, I would certainly go with shortstop or pitcher or even one of those outfield positions over catcher. So that was a little bit of a shock to me, but I love corner getting the respect it deserves.
I think, at least in Cincinnati, left tackle, where they drop back 50 times.
And you have no help.
Yeah, that one is higher. I get overall, it's not. And traditionally, I would have said NBA point guard. I actually think that one's a bit lower because the way the combo guards have impacted things. You have guys dribble the ball up and down the court all the time that aren't necessarily point guards. Victor Wembanyama, for example, is going to do that tonight for the Spurs at times.
That was my other big takeaway from this list. I felt point guard was too high. I feel like maybe coming in around like a 7 or 8 would be a little better of a spot
20 years
for it.
ago, I would have agreed that it was there because they run the show. But the Chris Paul, Steve Nash, excuse me. Steve Kerr, I was thinking of Steph Curry. Like, Steph Curry is the new point guard, combo guard. He's not necessarily winning with the ball in his hands. We'll see that with Jalen Brunson tonight, though. So that throwback is still there for sure.
I think if you just change the verbiage of point guard, which doesn't necessarily exist anymore, to facilitator, the person that's running the whole offense, I think that is still one of the hardest positions.
Point guard can still be a thing. Point guard's still a thing. They're point guards. Jalen Brunson is a point guard. Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, he score first.
Yeah, for sure. But he has the ball in his hands the whole time. He runs the show. He's the quarterback.
The debate to continue for another time because we need to move on in the countdown. The World Cup kicks off tomorrow, and spoiler alert, a little teaser, tomorrow's countdown will be all World Cup themed, but I had to include this one in on today's because Norway, they do photos the right way. The Norwegian team had posted these two photos to social media. The first being the team in complete unison with their uniforms. The second photo, though, is the one that really got me. They had each of their players wear the shirt of the club where they first took their first steps in the game of football or soccer. I just thought that was such a cool moment for this team to do and really paying homage to how their roots got started in the sport.
Yeah, I think this is really cool ahead of the World Cup to do that. Their journey, kind of recapping it, showing it, and I think it would be really valuable for the players to have this and to be able to look back and kind of reflect ahead of the World Cup.
Super cool. It's kind of just cool to see where everyone came from, too. All different places, not playing together obviously your whole lives, and then coming now together to try to chase a World Cup with one common goal. It's super cool to see.
I'm surprised you didn't pay homage to it by wearing your St. X jersey. That was spotless. No grass stains, no nothing. Just to show where you came.
No, definitely not. But it's a good jersey.
I'm not saying it's not. That's right. I'm surprised you weren't like, hey, Marisa, here we go. I'm ready.
Maybe Jacob would have been an ace in his St. X jersey, but another ace that we know is Chase Burns. He pitched well enough for the Reds to come away with the win in San Diego last night, and MLB Network has also been taking notice of Chase Burns. Here's a little short segment they did comparing and talking about Chase Burns' slider.
His slider, correct me if I'm wrong, is one of the top 5 pitches in the world. No question about it. What helps him is he throws so hard, too. He's 95 to 100 miles an hour. But the action he gets on this slider is amazing. It's a hard slider. What I love about what he does is he can command it enough to throw it for a strike, like that right there. And not all of them are going to be the ones that are nasty and bounce. He can command it, he can change shapes on it, and he gets some lousy swings. His slider reminds me of Dave Stieb, who came up with the Toronto Blue Jays. Dave Stieb had the sweeper before the sweeper was called the sweeper. And when you look at these two breaking balls side by side, very similar. So if you're asking me about comparing his slider to one of the best I've ever seen, the first thing that came to mind was Dave Stieb.
Wow. I mean, that's praise. That's saying something. I praise. Dave Stieb's the best slider ever. I mean, Jacob deGrom, when it was peak deGrom, throwing over 100 miles an hour with his slider, that was pretty good.
Love to see that kind of comparison, and one of the nastiest sliders in the world. Love to also see Chase Burns finally getting some national recognition like he deserves.
Dave Stieb had 7 All-Star appearances, led the major leagues in ERA one time. So for those wondering, like, oh, well, is that a good... It's a heck of a comp, and please sign us up for 7 All-Star appearances for Chase Burns.
Yeah, absolutely, and Burns' slider has been a joy to watch all season. Coming out of Wake Forest, known for his fastball up over 100 miles an hour. Anytime you're carrying triple digits on a 4-seam fastball, that's going to be the talking point, but since he's come into his own this year, it's really been the slider. He's thrown it 35% of the time against lefties, 47% of the time against righties, really living and dying by that pitch, and so far this season, it's been a lot of living.
Nasty sliders by Chase Burns, and we saw a nasty home run by Sal Stewart last night, and we have plenty of more Reds talk to get to after the break by revisiting our poll question. Should the Reds extend Sal Stewart? We will get to that and more here on First Word with you until 11 o'clock here on The Crown.
Sometimes people misconstrue what an explanation and an excuse. Because a big explanation to why the Reds are underperforming this year are the injuries.
Sure,
There's no doubt
absolutely.
about it. And people say, oh, that's just a crutch, that's an excuse. No, that's part of the explanation why this team is not playing well. And I think as fans and people who watch the game and people who talk about the game like we do, I think sometimes we take this pie and we try to slice it up and say, who does the big piece of pie of blame go to? And everybody wants to do Nick Kroll and the Reds front office at all. At what point does a big slice, and I mean a really big slice, have to go to players who have just underperformed? Because I think if we laid out, guys, the Reds' top 10 players, and everybody would have it a little bit different, but I think 8 or 9 of the Reds' top 10 players, we would all agree are pretty much the same on everybody's lists. I think at least half, if not more than half, have underperformed this year.
Or are hurt.
Or hurt.
Yes.
Or both.
Yeah. Well, the Bengals had a linebacker. Have you heard anything linebacker-wise, free agent-wise, of them being interested, or are they just really comfortable with Demetrius Knight, Barrett Carter, and what they have in that room?
I mean, I could see them adding. This is a time of year that's tricky. There's not a lot of free agency movement. Because it's in May and June, you kind of want to see what your young guys can do, see what you have, and then if you realize, oh, wow, these guys can't play, then you go sign somebody. Or if you say, oh, we might have something there. Like the Chiefs are a good example. They could use some receiver help, I would say. But, you got a young guy like Jalen Royals who looks pretty good. It's like, okay, well, maybe we can roll with this or at least go into camp and see what we have. So I could see Cincinnati adding a linebacker. I mean, hey, Jermaine Pratt's still out there. He was a good player for them. I could see him going back to the Colts where he was with Lou Anarumo and those guys, or maybe Cincinnati wants to entertain that. I know it didn't end the best, so maybe that's not the best route. You got Matt Milano still out there. The problem with the linebackers is it's a lot of aging players. So I think the teams that want to make a big-time upgrade would look at a trade, and there aren't teams really eager to give up like a Jordan Brooks in Miami unless you're giving up major capital. So for the Bengals' taste, especially with giving up the first for Dexter Lawrence, I don't know that they would make another big swing for a trade right now. So we'll see, but it depends on your level of desperation. So we'll see how they feel coming out of minicamp. And it wouldn't shock me, certainly, but nothing's on my radar right now for that.
First word rolls on, and it is time to get to our poll question of the day. I'm James Rapien alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Tissot. We are your morning sports show, Cincinnati, every single weekday, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown. And coming up at 10, we'll get to Joe Burrow in the Bengals offseason, what they did going all in and restructuring his deal. But let's get to the poll question, and it involves Sal Stewart, and he had the huge game-winning home run last night that ended a 5-game losing streak for the Cincinnati Reds, and it timed out well because we had this poll question out there already. Should the Reds sign Sal Stewart to a contract extension this season? 50.5% of you say yes, bright future. 35.5% of you say not this year, too early. And 14% say no, haven't seen enough from Sal.
What do you got to see? What rookie would you ever extend?
Look at you. A lot of people probably wouldn't extend a rookie.
But I think that is the third option. That's why the third option was put there. Not this year. It's too early. And that's just a fundamental stance of when you have this much team control, a team like the Reds shouldn't overpay for a contract that's already in place, which is a fine stance to have. If you're taking the stance that Sal Stewart isn't a good enough player to deserve an extension, then I don't really understand how you've come to that conclusion so far.
It's early. That's what I like. It would be like asking the Bengals, should they extend Dylan Fairchild 8 games into last year? No. 10 games into last year. Like, it's tough.
Apples to oranges, sport to sport.
No doubt. And I get your logic. It's the baseball minutia and trying to control and all those things. People aren't necessarily thinking that way.
And that's fair.
You know, it's very
I think
high
that
level.
is the Sal Stewart extension conversation, though. Is
Sure.
when does the gamble that the Reds would have to take to lock him in long term line up with the gamble of him, proving enough to you at that point? Which for me, I think he already has, because in my opinion, he's trending well above a price point the Reds can afford.
Yeah, I think the gamble is worth it. I'm with the camp of yes, he has a bright future. I think the risk is worth the potential reward outcome of getting Sal at maybe a little bit of a discount than as opposed to waiting for him to, who knows, win NL Rookie of the Year or be an MVP, consideration in future years. I think you try to lock him in now for a lower price.
Let's take a look at your responses here. We have multiple responses to get to. Is it time for the Reds to extend Sal Stewart? Reds Daily, my man Greg, wouldn't hate it, but also no rush, under team control through 2031. So open, but under the right circumstances, which makes sense there. Cincy B, I wouldn't extend anyone on the cusp of the new CBA.
I think the conversation here is how would it work? And granted, we don't necessarily know yet because there is no new CBA. But if these extensions, the way a lot of people are thinking, could possibly be grandfathered into a salary cap or floor, could certainly benefit the Reds.
Drew says, under team control until 2031, and the economics of baseball are going to change, likely to benefit the Reds. Waiting makes sense. To your point, maybe it doesn't. And I think that's what's interesting here. I also think that the Reds err on the side of caution when it comes to this stuff. We don't know the unknown. It's scary. Are we going to risk it? And there is some unknown with Sal and what he's going to be as well. Not surprised that they're like, we'll see. We'll wait and see.
No, it makes sense, and I think everyone's reaction to a new CBA and a cap is to focus on the cap, but every number that's been floated as a potential floor to be married with that cap is well above what the Reds are currently paying. So regardless of when they sign Sal, if this new CBA rolls in, they're going to be incentivized to hand out some major contracts.
Maybe they could just sign Kyle Schwarber. We can't do that. But
he
you know
didn't
what?
want to be here, right?
No, yeah, of course he didn't. Joe Burrow has a new deal, a restructured deal. The Bengals did something they've never done. We'll talk about it next on First Word.
On the radio here in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati has always felt like home.
Right here on the Crown Network.
Out and about in Cincinnati, bringing you these stories that you need to hear in the Queen City.
Well, the Bengals had a linebacker. Have you heard anything linebacker-wise, free agent-wise, of them being interested, or are they just really comfortable with Demetrius Knight, Barrett Carter, and what they have in that room?
I mean, I could see them adding. This is a time of year that's tricky. There's not a lot of free agency movement. Because it's in May and June, you kind of want to see what your young guys can do, see what you have, and then if you realize, oh wow, these guys can't play, then you go sign somebody, or if you say, oh, we might have something there. Like the Chiefs are a good example. They could use some receiver help, I would say. But, you got a young guy like Jalen Royals who looks pretty good. It's like, okay, well, maybe we can roll with this or at least go into camp and see what we have. So I could see Cincinnati adding a linebacker. I mean, hey, Jermaine Pratt's still out there. He was a good player for them. I could see him going back to the Colts where he was with Lou Anarumo and those guys, or maybe Cincinnati wants to entertain that. I know it didn't end the best, so maybe that's not the best route. You got Matt Milano still out there. The problem with the linebackers is it's a lot of aging players. So I think the teams that want to make a big time upgrade would look at a trade, and there aren't teams really eager to give up like a Jordan Brooks in Miami unless you're giving up major capital. So for the Bengals' taste, especially with giving up the first for Dexter Lawrence, I don't know that they would make another big swing for a trade right now. So we'll see, but it depends on your level of desperation. So we'll see how they feel coming out of minicamp. And it wouldn't shock me, certainly, but nothing's on my radar right now for that.
In the room. Prediction time.
Okay.
Does DJ get paid before the start of the regular season?
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah, that's my prediction. Yeah, I agree with that. I think you have to. I think you kind of have to. If you're going to do all of this work, all this construction on this roster to change everything, why would you not, flip over that last stone and get that thing done? That has to be done. That, to me, was one of the priorities of the offseason. They've gone above and beyond all of the other priorities of trying to fix this defense. Now that you've added all these pieces to make it better, there's this one thing that's saying, fix me, take care of me. Take care of that, and I think you've had a winning offseason. It's already been. You've got the team and the defense right now to go out there and get to where you want to go. But you still have to take care of
Welcome in to a Hump Day edition of First Word. I'm James Rapien alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Tissot. We are your morning sports show, Cincinnati, every single weekday, 7 to 11. Always open right here on The Crown. And you can catch us weekdays on YouTube, where we got up to over 5,000 subscribers on our 8th show. $9.99 on Spectrum, by the way, $2.53 on Alta Fiber. RESN 19.3 digitally. Listen live on Mixlr. And if you miss it, well, guess what? You can catch us wherever you get your podcast. And stay tuned right here on The Crown, because we got the Working Lunch with Jack Crumley coming up at noon today, where yesterday he got an important transmission in his earpiece. And we couldn't have been more excited about that transmission. I just got to throw that out there.
I can't wait for the veggie sliders at White Castle.
I was going to tease that, and instead you did that. I was going to say check out his YouTube page and check it out. But if you do miss the Working Lunch, you can check it out there as well. Let's get to the news of the day. Really, the theme of the offseason has been the Bengals doing things they haven't done and spending money in ways that they haven't before. And that continued yesterday when they restructured Joe Burrow's contract, saving $10 million in cap space this season. And I got to be honest, for me, it caps off what is very much an all-in offseason. They traded the 10th pick for Dexter Lawrence. They get Brian Cook, top safety in free agency. Jonathan Allen, former first-round pick, former Pro Bowler, is going to matter for them. They go get even these, and we were working on the minutia of First Word when this was going down. They go get Kyle Duggar. Like an under-the-radar signing that they showed up yesterday, and I think is going to matter. I think he's going to play on defense for the Bengals. They addressed their defense in a bunch of ways. I get they didn't get a linebacker, but it really feels like they're all in, and that's something that is safe to say. And I'm comfortable saying it for the first time, maybe ever, that they're all in, that they've done a ton to get back into Super Bowl contention.
It really feels that way because they've done so many uncharacteristic things this offseason, and the Burrow restructure was just the latest, the first time they've done something like that in team history. And so I believe it when I hear Duke Tobin and other members of the front office saying, we're all in, this is our window, we're going for it, because they've backed it up by what the moves that they've made this offseason. And this Burrow restructure one is interesting because what does it mean? Does it mean they're going to look to add another piece to the puzzle here on defense maybe, or are they going to prioritize locking up some of these extensions that we're really hoping come down the line?
Absolutely, and this restructure was the last thing I was waiting on to officially declare them all in. And sure, would love some more additions, would love extensions to start rolling in throughout this offseason, but this is such a huge step forward to just being a team that's trying to win a championship, exhausting your options in order to put the best team on the field. And I think if anyone is still holding back whether or not the Bengals are all in, the question I would ask is what more could they do? They needed to add in the defensive line. They went and added the best defensive lineman they possibly could. They needed to add at safety. They went and added the best safety they possibly could. They needed to add to the defensive line outside of just one guy because there wasn't consistent production. Well, you go out and get a former Pro Bowler in Jonathan Allen. You add Boy Mafe, who's an exciting young player in that edge room. You draft Cassius Howell, a guy you had a first-round grade on in the second round. I think the Bengals have had an A almost plus offseason. Just going to keep that plus in my back pocket for maybe a Bobby.
Yeah, that's what's interesting is what else they could do, where they could go. What was interesting about what we heard from Duke Tobin is how things changed. And we've heard from him twice this offseason. And I think that's another difference.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't hear from Duke. So we always hear from him at the Combine, but we heard from him at the end of the season. We heard from him at the Combine, and then we heard from him again after the draft. Here's what he had to say at the Combine. Let's get that one queued up, Gabe, because for me, the all-in narrative, it started here.
Yes.
Asked about all in. That was kind of a theme, and he shot this down way back on February 24th.
So the question's on whether we're all in or not. I've been doing this a long time. I've never not been all in. We are all in. We are trying to get the best team possible with the resources we have. Last year we went all in. We signed over $400 million worth of contracts going all in. That's what we do. We want to be all in. We're trying to put the best roster together every year, and this year is no different.
And so a few weeks later, they go out and they get Brian Cook and they get Boye Mafe and they get Jonathan Allen. We weren't doing the show then. That didn't feel like enough for me. No. I didn't feel comfortable. I ripped them from a free agent standpoint, my offseason grades, all of those things. And I was like, what are they going to do with the 10th pick? Well, then they turned that into Dexter Lawrence. Everybody in the building excited about Dexter Lawrence. And Duke Tobin, the way he talked changed and how open he was to a potential Joe Burrow restructure post-Dexter Lawrence trade, that changed as well. Here's what he had to say post-Lawrence trade, post-draft in April.
Have you approached Joe Burrow about a restructure? Is that something you would do?
Oh, those are things that we're working through after the draft. And again, we've layered in challenges, but we're up to them. And we do it because we got the opportunity to add the right people and the right players. And those are challenges that the locker room isn't interested in. They're interested in having the best team possible. And that's what we're trying to give them, is the best team possible.
The best team possible, and part of making it the best team possible is maximizing what you can do with the cap space. When he said that and kind of left the door at least open to a restructure, did you think it was going to happen?
Initially, my gut said no because they hadn't done anything like that before.
Yeah.
But I felt like it needed to happen, and so I'm glad it finally did happen. Because after the Lawrence trade, what other really options did they have? Because they were near, the cap for like room in the cap room, excuse me. And so this restructure at least gets them back to around the average in the NFL when it comes to cap space for the rest of the season. So. Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm still a little shocked that, it is happening, and it did happen. But no, at that time, I wasn't convinced that 100% it was going to.
Yeah, and I think at any point in time this offseason, it would have been at least some level of a surprise just because this isn't something they've ever done before. It seemed like such a no-brainer to us and so many in the fan base, so I'm glad that it happened. But I don't think you could have ever really given me that notification I got yesterday and not had a little bit of surprise that they actually did.
Yeah, I'm still surprised.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't be surprised after the Dexter trade. Like, everything should go out the window. I shouldn't be, but it's just like, it was June 9th. And I felt like, all right, well, if they were going to do it, it would have already been done.
Right.
They're going to find a way. They're going to find other levers. They're going to figure it out. And then they do it. And so now it gives me hope/optimism that big moves are coming. Mm-hmm. And that could be a contract extension. But I think more things have to happen, because the one thing that I do think precedents have gone out the window in a lot of ways, and the Bengals' history has gone out the window in a lot of ways this offseason. The one thing that I think is very clear, they would not restructure Joe Burrow's deal unless they knew, hey, this is what our plan is for these resources. They're not just doing that to do it so they feel a bit more comfortable with the cap. They could have done other things. And the other thing I think they deserve praise for, because I think in years past what they would have done, they would have traded for Dexter Lawrence. And then they would have cut T.J. Slaton. They would have signed Jonathan Allen, and then they would have cut B.J. Hill. Or when they trade for Dexter Lawrence, they decide to tweak things and move on from one of their veterans that they could have done. They didn't do that. They kept all these veterans that are making money. Like B.J. Hill, he was good last year. You could have saved that money. I think T.J. Slaton, I think there are a lot of people out there that would cut him. I wouldn't, because you want that to be a strength and you want to have depth there. But is he overpaid for a backup nose tackle? Like, if you put it like that, yeah, he is. Do I like having him in the building? Absolutely. So they deserve credit there for not doing something I think they would have done in the past, which is weakening their roster, getting better, but then weakening their depth that could come back to bite them.
Yeah.
What do you think the plan is to do with that extra space in the cap now? Because honestly, the fact that it was about $10 million surprised me a little bit. I thought that number would have been higher, closer to the max, which would have been about $19 million. If it would have been closer to that, it would have been like, okay, I think they're looking to add a piece still and get an extension done. Yep. But with it being 10, I don't know. I feel like it's one or the other. I don't know if they can really accomplish both in the, within those range.
The thing with the extensions, at least for the most part, is within this season, it's marginal cap space movement. So I don't think it's as much of an either or. I think it does just change the likelihood of them making an outside addition from, in my mind, near zero to opening that door. I think sitting here on the second week of June, it's hard to imagine that without this restructure, the Bengals were going to make another outside addition. At least I wasn't in that camp with a ton of optimism there, especially with the linebacker room. So I do think it's a huge step forward in terms of opening that door, and then maybe it means that they're closer than we think on an extension. They don't normally happen in June, but maybe they will this year.
Yeah, my guy Jay Morrison did the research. Since 2000, the Bengals have only extended 3 players in June. Giovanni Bernard was a noteworthy one for sure. I still think it can happen. I think they like negotiating in training camp, and that's part of it. The players here, all of those things. There are also some downfalls with that. I think they've seen that in recent years. In a guy like DJ Turner, I think their mind is made up. Yeah. Trey Hendrickson, their mind wasn't made up. They did not want to pay him the guaranteed money that he wanted. And so that's why you saw them drag their feet and say, oh, we'll win this stalemate. And Mike Brown said, I think we're going to get it done. All of those things that went into the Trey Hendrickson debacle. This isn't that. This is very much, when it comes to DJ Turner, I think they're like, man, young player developed, answered the bell. We believe in him. He was following number 1 wide receivers last year. We trust him there. Our cornerbacks coach loves him. Our defensive coordinator loves him. Let's give him number 0. Let's show him all the love. Let's show him all the shine. Let's make him our franchise corner. I think this might have to do with that. The next step is a DJ Turner 4-year, $90 to $100 million extension. That could be coming down the pike for the Bengals.
I hope so. And I think that would be, in my opinion, the biggest step from last offseason to this offseason. Tobin at the Combine clip right there just said about the total number of dollars they spent last year, and obviously the vast, vast majority of that is T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. But once that money was spent on the no-brainer internal extensions, there wasn't much else. We're talking about T.J. Slaton as a great depth piece to the D-line, and I couldn't agree more with what James is saying there, but bringing him in as the defensive lineman to change things from a year before when you were a defense away from missing the playoffs isn't quite getting it done. The other big addition on the defensive side of the ball being Oren Burks, again, not quite getting it done. To take the big swings they did in free agency and with the trade and then turn around and get some internal extensions that they need to get done, that just continues to show that they're changing the way they operate. And it's not just necessarily the bottom line, but it's making sure that the best possible players are here and here for the long haul. And I think that's a huge step forward to do both, because in the history of the Bengals, at least in the Joe Burrow era, it's been one or the other. They've been able to get outside additions in years where they don't have huge internal contracts to get done, and when they do, that's taken over the offseason. So it would be great to see both of those take a huge step forward this offseason.
Yep, no, there's no doubt. We'll see what they do. Plenty of time to dive into what they can do with the extra cap space. Up next, there's some basketball on tonight, and I can't wait. NBA Finals Game 4. We'll discuss it next right here on First Word.
My name's Jacob Tissot, and I'm a co-host of First Word from 7 to 11 every morning right here on the Crown Network, where we will break down the biggest stories in Cincinnati sports. I'm a graduate of the University of Alabama, where I spent 4 seasons working for the football team as a student assistant, contributing to the 2020 National Championship and 3 SEC championships. I'm a Cincinnati native, a St. Xavier High School graduate, and will bring a local perspective and passion to covering the Bengals, Reds, and everything in between. I'm excited to have you join us on First Word.
If that's the plan, I would understand it. I'm not sure it is. They may be viewing it as, we got to get to Hunter Greenland, and then we'll
Hunter
address
Green
it.
changes a lot of things if he comes back and he's Hunter Green.
And so that's it. Because if you're saying Chase Burns is starting every other because of the innings limit, and you have Hunter Green, well, it feels much different. Every Burns start right now feels insanely important because you know that you're going to get a good start. And at some point, maybe that changes, but it is felt locked down. Like we were talking about cornerbacks, it feels locked down from a starter perspective that he's going to pitch well for you. So if you get that until Hunter Green comes back, and then you go every other, and Rhett Lauder's ready to go, and maybe Brady Singer starts singing. And well, you think about it, and you look at it, like Nick Lodolo and Andrew Abbott, they've started to come on. Abbott had a great month of May, fought through it yesterday, still good enough. And then Lodolo might have a swag back. It might
Certainly
be back.
looks that way.
Don't look yet all the way. Maybe leave one eye. But if that's the case, now suddenly that rotation is a strength. And Burns helped keep you above water, and now you can dial it back some. Keep him safe. Like that, I assume that's their plan. But man, that means that Lauder, need to see you Sunday. Pitched well yesterday. Five innings, no walks, 3 runs, 8 strikeouts in
70
AAA
pitches,
Louisville.
50 strikes.
It's good.
Pounding the zone.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's good.
Unreal.
I
He
thought you
doesn't
were
throw it like that.
I thought you were questioning.
Like, unbelievable.
And that was something pre-injury that we were noticing early in games.
Lose the command.
Yes. So hopefully Lauder comes back. Hopefully Burns pitches well if he's on the mound. And hopefully that's their plan. I think I just solved it.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones, a Cincinnati native, and I have been in media for about 10 years now. Formerly on the radio here in Cincinnati, I grew my love and obsession with finding all things fun in Cincinnati and have now made it my life. I'm originally from the West Side here, and then I've pretty much been a downtown girl ever since college. But I did leave for 7 years, and during that time, I really grew and harnessed and cut my teeth doing stand-up comedy in Los Angeles, learning how to ski in Colorado, and now I'm back here in Cincinnati, driven by curiosity and grounded by family.
Every morning, Cincinnati wakes up and gets to work. Companies are built, deals are made, restaurants open, ideas become careers, and every day the people behind it all sit down at the working lunch. Founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, community leaders, the people building Cincinnati. The Working Lunch with Jack Crumley, weekdays, noon to 1, only on The Crown.
On the radio here in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati has always felt like home.
Right here on the Crown Network.
Out and about in Cincinnati, bringing you these stories that you need to hear in the Queen City.
First Word rolls on, and so do the NBA Finals. Welcome back. I'm James Rapien alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Tissot. We are your morning sports show, Cincinnati, every single weekday, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown. And it is Game 4. Ready or not, it is Game 4 of the Finals. Game 4 delivered in the Stanley Cup yesterday. Yeah. It delivered, and it went down to the wire, and it's awesome because now they're tied 2-2. What is going on in your minds right now when it comes to this Game 4? Because to me, we asked John Fanta this. He didn't necessarily agree. I absolutely think this is the game. If the Spurs win tonight, I think they're going to cruise and win the series like you guys thought. I could totally see that. On the other side, if the Knicks can get it to 3-1, I think they find a way to become NBA champions, which is not a line I thought I would say 2 weeks ago. But here we are. I think it's that big of a swing game. Do you guys agree with that?
Well, the last game I said the winner of wins the series was game 2. So
yeah, that was too soon.
I think
you and Joe D last week, that was too soon.
I didn't expect the Knicks to win both in San Antonio and then turn around and play a much, much worse game in New York. They have looked like an unbeatable team at MSG so far this playoffs, really since CJ McCollum got a win in the first round. And I was shocked to see how they turned around and played in game 3, and I don't expect it tonight. I think the Knicks will come out and play with their hair on fire and really play Knicks basketball that we've seen for the last 45 days where they haven't lost a game before game 3. So I think the Knicks will win tonight, but I don't necessarily think that ends the series because of exactly what Fanta was saying when he was on with us earlier. All the pressure would then be on the Knicks if the Spurs can win at home, which I would expect them to. So
I'm in the camp of, I think if the Knicks win tonight, and to your point, you said this earlier this week, there's a lot of pressure on New York. If they lose game 3, you have to go out and win game 4. I think if they win tonight, I think it's their series. I don't see a world where they then drop the remaining games. But if San Antonio gets the win tonight, I'm still not convinced that they're taking the series, even though I had picked them in 6. Just New York has been, you'd say they've been so good at home. They've been really good on the road, too. And I feel like if the series gets tied 2-2, New York's going to have a little bit more of an edge to them going back to San Antonio.
That's the thing when you don't lose for a month and a half of playoff basketball. You end up being really good at home and on the road.
Yeah.
Fair.
No, there's no doubt. They've been dominant.
I pulled up the splits, and it's just 2 of the best teams in the league.
If the Knicks are, obviously, if the Spurs are going to win, it's going to be Wemby.
Yes.
Right.
It's going to be Castle. It's going to be Harper. Like, it's going to be the usual suspects. On the other side, it's going to be the usual suspects for the Knicks as well. And John Fanta of NBC Sports joined us last hour. We'll put this entire thing on our YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe. But he talked. You asked about Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns. Important piece is obviously they need to get it done for the Knicks tonight.
Karl Anthony Towns, for the most part, has had a really strong postseason. He's plus 245, the highest plus minus in a single postseason. But he has 0 points in the fourth quarter in this series. It was something that I saw, and I was like, how in the world is that possible? Is that at all concerning for, the Knicks for the duration of the series, looking to, close out a finals win? Or is that something that maybe we're reading a little bit too much into?
Well, I don't think we're reading too much into it. Karl Anthony Towns is the matchup nightmare to the Spurs. He really is. And his ability to mobilize Wembanyama, get Wembanyama moving defensively, making Wembanyama work, that changes the game. That's just it here. They're up 2-1, and Brunson has not been particularly good, and Towns has not been a factor in key moments in the game. That should bode well for the Knicks, though. They're up 2-1 with those things happening. I think that for Towns, they got to get him touches. You have to make a conscious decision. Now, San Antonio's defense has something to do with this, and it's a big reason why Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby was fantastic in Game 3. It's the best I've seen him play. Those guys are cashing in. Shamet as well. But for me, this series lies in the hands of Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns and whether or not they play to their maximum capabilities. If they do, the Knicks will be champions.
If they do that, the Knicks will be champions. And look, I've said it a lot as we've gone through these playoffs, when we've done some of our test shows here, all of those things. Is Wemby going to be the best player on the court? This is the Jalen Brunson game. It needs to be. If they're going to win, this is the 4-year anniversary of Steph Curry, shocker that I'm going to bring this up, going into TD Garden in Boston, dropping 40-plus, dominating to get that series to 2-2, right? And so it's one or the other. Either it's going to be Wemby or Dylan Harper, maybe it's Castle, but probably not. It's probably going to be Wemby of those 3, or it's going to be Jalen Brunson. He's been bad this series. Now, he's asked to do a lot. His bad is better than a lot. He's still got 80-plus points in this series, but he's shooting under 40%. They need him to be efficient tonight. They need him in this offense to move the ball. And if it's not going to be Brunson, it has to be Cat. We've seen his playmaking. We've seen what he can do. And so one of those 2 guys have to have monster nights tonight if this Knicks team is going to go up 3-1. Because the Spurs, they were never done 2-0. I thought that was a ridiculous narrative that was out there. They're very much in this series, and they're going to come into tonight saying, hey, we're going to go dominate them, get it to 2-2, and then we're going to go win the series.
I think the thing with the Knicks is obviously you need Cat and Brunson to be the stars if they're going to win, but you have faith that someone else is going to step up. You don't necessarily know who it's going to be. Is it going to be the OG game? Is it going to be the Josh Hart game? Jose Alvarado had 10 points in game 2. Whose game is it going to be? Not sure, but someone on that supporting cast for the Knicks is going to step up. I don't know if you can have that same confidence in San Antonio. Obviously, you'd like it to be Champagny, and it was in the Western Conference Finals, making a lot of big threes, 20 points in Game 7, but it's going to be the guys that you expect. It's going to be Castle, and it's going to be Wemby if the Spurs can get over the hump. And they were the 2 youngest players by combined age to score 20 points in a finals game in Game 3. They need to continue that in Game 4. They have to be out there 40-plus minutes, and they have to play incredible.
No, it's a great point. Is who else along with Wemby is it going to be? And I would even kind of throw De'Aaron Fox into that mix as well. I think you need to see him step up too. And it's just, we know how deep this Knicks team is, and just their role players and their stars. When they are on, they are one of the best teams in the NBA. We've seen it throughout this postseason. The Spurs have just had so much more of like a roller coaster at times where, they haven't shot, as well. Wemby hasn't been the force that we've, seen from him at times. And I think for them to be able to pull out, not only the series, but tonight, it absolutely goes through Wemby. But I'm curious who else around him is really going to, step up in those key moments, especially down the stretch.
How do the Knicks potentially change how they're guarding Wemby? Obviously, it's worked well with Cat through the first 3 games, especially in the first 2. But I think in Game 3, that really started to affect him on the offensive side of the floor, which is a much, much bigger piece for the Knicks than him defensively. You have OG. You have Josh Hart. Those are the guys that guarded Wemby in the regular season when the Knicks had success in the NBA Cup and in the regular season games. So I'm wondering if tonight you switch to OG or Josh Hart.
And the thing that really stinks if you're the Knicks in Game 3, OG went off. Went off. He's making everything. And that's why it was close. Yeah. I mean, that's a big reason why it was close. And it feels like you squandered that. Not sure you're going to get another OG game like that, but if he can be what he is defensively, I think a big storyline is going to be how tired is Wemby.
Yes.
He has looked exhausted at times during this series in Game 1 and 2. I thought there were times when he looked exhausted. You got to get him to that point. And maybe that's because Karl Anthony Towns was so good on offense, especially in Game 1. I thought the feeling out process, he hit Wemby with a few haymakers, and he was like, oh my good, like, is this the guy I have to play against and deal with? And so it's going to be a mixture. It's not just take it to him on defense and throw different guys at him, but on offense, you have to find ways to put Wemby in an awkward position where he's not just standing there and rim protecting and doing what he does so great.
And the other side of that Karl Anthony Towns defensive coin is obviously it's been a lot of wing guys on Wemby. We saw Caruso in the Western Conference Finals.
Didn't work.
How much is actually having a 7-foot, big guy on Wemby, weighing him down, banging in the post, affecting Wemby's tiredness in between these games? It's a lot easier to move around an Alex Caruso or a Josh Hart in the post than it is Karl Anthony Towns. I think actually having to go up against the team's true center is affecting Wemby and how he's ready to go for these next games.
Well, that, and plus he's been playing a lot of minutes. I mean, just in this series in the Western Conference Finals, the only game where he played under 30 minutes was the blowout there in Game 6. And so you have to think that's taken a toll on him too. And we talked about, in the office at times too, on how the Knicks have gotten so much rest that, each one of their opponents that they play this postseason went 7 games the series before taking them on. And you have to wonder if that is a factor here for the Spurs.
Wemby didn't play over 40 minutes in a single game in February or March, the last 2 months of the regular season. So this is certainly a plan for the Spurs to have him ready to go, be able to play these minutes healthy in the playoffs, but it's a new challenge that he hasn't faced in quite some time now.
Let's do and we'll be able to dive in and react to tomorrow, or react to this game tomorrow, but what would your confidence level be if the Knicks win tonight, that the Spurs can come back from 3-1? Let's start there.
Really low.
1 to 10.
2.
A 2. Okay.
A 1.
Really?
It's not happening.
See, I'm not there.
I think it could get to 7. I think it could be fun.
I'm with Fanta. I would be at a 4.
I just have a really hard time.
It's only happened once in the final.
And who was
exactly. That? When Draymond got suspended. So, jeez, you guys just put me in a position.
You brought it up.
No, because I had to, because it's relevant to the conversation. It's only happened once. But I think the Spurs are so good. Like, I refuse to just believe, like, oh, well, 3-1 against the Knicks. Like, I still think they'd have a shot. This is like 4.
The Spurs are a great team, but the Knicks have been so good throughout this entire postseason. I don't see them going up 3-1 and then losing 3 straight.
I think it's this for me. I still haven't wrapped my head around the Knicks being great.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a me problem. No. And I'm rooting for the Knicks. To be clear, I want the Knicks to win this series because I just think it would be awesome. Awesome for basketball, awesome for Knicks fans everywhere, all of those things. But my goodness, like...
Yeah. You're right.
It could be 3-1, and I'm like, well, the Spurs may be better, so why
The conversation coming into this series was if the Spurs can play their game of basketball, the Knicks have no chance.
They're going to
Now,
roll.
3 games in, the conversation is if the Knicks can play their brand of basketball, the Spurs have no chance.
I don't believe that at all.
It's crazy how it's flipped, though, in terms of just the conversation.
And all 3 games have been close.
Absolutely, and that's what I don't understand from a lot of the New York side of things is I've seen a lot of people suggesting that Game 4 is going to be a blowout in the Knicks' favor in terms of a bounce back from Game 3. Stephen A. and Knicks fans on media is what I mean. And
he's talking to
that's not going to be true.
The 8 people that feel
get
that
up
way.
yesterday.
12 people?
If it's a small group, they're the ones on TV. So
12. That's why you wake up with first word.
It's not going to happen.
I don't know. There's never been a point. Like, by the way, I didn't think the Spurs were completely out of it when they were down 3-2 against the Thunder.
Yeah.
The Thunder. So, like, the Knicks, I would give them a chance to do it. Now, let's flip it. The other side. Spurs get it to 2-2 tonight. What's your confidence level that the Knicks overcome it and win the series? Because they lose home court tonight.
Like, I'm not confident either way at 2-2. I think you just got a new series.
Yeah.
Wash it out. Either team can win.
Really? I think Spurs.
The reason why I'm not confident in the Spurs
Spurs may win in 6 if they win tonight.
I would love it. That'd be awesome.
No,
that was Marissa's prediction.
That would stink because I had Knicks in 6.
Well,
let's be real.
Hope not. But when De'Aaron Fox hits a big-time shot...
Mike Brown is the best coach in the world, according to you.
Not according to me.
Yeah, you love Mike Brown.
Not
He's
true.
a big Mike Brown guy. And I'm not talking about Bengals owner
Good
Mike
offseason.
You love Mike Brown.
Yeah, Paycor's done real well this offseason. But the thing with the Spurs that I don't love, which is the big difference between the Cavs teams that came back, is who was the engine of those Cavs teams? Obviously LeBron, but Kyrie scored 41 in Game 6, hit a big-time 3 to win Game 7. De'Aaron Fox hit a big-time shot at the end of Game 3 to get the Spurs over the top. And every conversation around that shot was, can you believe the Spurs' max point guard made a big-time jump shot? I don't think there's another player on the Spurs you're confident in taking that shot. Champagne's your best shooter from 3. He's certainly not any more than a role player. Dylan Harper has a lot of work to do on that jump shot till it gets to a point. He's a great player. Jump shot's not quite there. Fox certainly isn't a shooter. Castle is a downhill player. I don't know that there's a lot of players on the Spurs that I'm trusting to take a final shot.
All right, relax on the De'Aaron Fox. He's hurt. That's part of it here.
And that's part of it.
Yeah, but if he's healthy, he's a dog. Let's not.
Scoring?
De'Aaron Fox. Yes, scoring. Yes, scoring.
I would absolutely play the other 2 guards over him to close the game.
And he's the reason you won Game 3.
And you probably win Game 2 if Harper closes it.
I don't know if I would go that far. I think there's been a lot of overreaction with Harper, and I love him. He's a rookie.
He is.
And it's the NBA Finals.
I
and there's
think
a lot
Fox
of
is
precedent
incredibly
there.
limited.
Right now he is, and we're going to see tonight. Make sure you check out our entire interview with John Fanta of NBC Sports. That's a lot of NBA Finals tonight.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it here on First Word. But up next, it is time. It is time to talk Reds. But yeah, Mike Brown, who let the dogs out, baby? I hope the dogs get it done tonight. Go Knicks.
On the radio here in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati has always felt like home.
Right here on the Crown Network.
Out and about in Cincinnati, bringing you these stories that you need to hear in the Queen City.
And there were 2 big trades on Monday, but the news of Monday, the big news, the reason why Joe Burrow is a happy man today is that guy named Myles Garrett. He's no longer in the AFC North. Myles Garrett traded to the Los Angeles Rams in a deal as we were show prepping. We were reacting to the Ellie news and talking about that. And then Myles Garrett gets dealt to the Rams for a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and a third-round pick, all in consecutive years, 27, 28, and 29, along with Jared Verse. My instant reaction was, heck yeah, at least Myles Garrett isn't in the AFC North and Joe Burrow doesn't have to deal with it.
Remember a few months ago when the conversation was Joe Burrow has to play Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, and TJ Watt 2 times a year each?
Wow.
Where'd that go?
Where did that go?
It was quick,
Very
short-lived for
yes.
sure, and certainly great news for the Bengals. I do think this is a great trade by the Browns in terms of the return, and obviously it's a win for the Bengals, but to get a player like Jared Verse, who's a great young player at the edge rusher position, is a solid return, and then the 2027 first, and what will be a really, or what should be, it's not fair to speak too far in advance, but what should be a really good first-round draft class next year, and the Browns building a pretty exciting young core, but still missing the biggest piece, and the piece we all know you need to compete in the NFL, the quarterback. And so many questions at that position in Cleveland, not for a lack of money spent, but Myles Garrett on to the Rams, and the most talented roster in the NFL just gets a little bit more talented.
What is The Crown? It's simple, really. Authentic Cincinnati entertainment. Not hot takes from a studio 3 states away. Not national noise pretending to know this city. Rather, bringing a voice to those who call the Queen City home. Where can I watch The Crown shows? Join us live from 7 to 11 a.m. for First Word and 12 to 1 for the Working Lunch on RESN. No live TV? No problem. Stream and interact with all of our content on major podcast, broadcast, and streaming platforms. The Crown is Cincinnati. Loud, passionate, competitive, proud. From early morning sports debates to the business leaders shaping the riverfront, to the fans, stories, moments, and culture that make this place move. Live shows, podcasts, documentaries, digital content built from Cincinnati, for Cincinnati. This is The Crown.
Hey, I'm Marisa Contipelli, one of the co-hosts on First Word and a features producer here on The Crown, where I will be out and about in Cincinnati bringing you the stories that you need to hear in the Queen City. Now, I know I'm from Cleveland, but I love my Cincy sports. I've been in Cincinnati for almost a decade now, spending the last 8 seasons with the Bengals as a team reporter and senior producer. I am so excited to be a part of the team here at The Crown, and I can't wait to bring you the latest from around the city.
Jacob Tissot is making fun of me, which I deserve because I make fun of him all the time. Jacob Trisket. I'm James Rapien. She's Marisa Contipelli. That's Jacob Trisket. We are your morning sports show, Cincinnati, every single weekday, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown. What would you got? This? I do this a lot.
I know.
You do.
You've been light with the hands today.
Light with the hands today.
A little
I
bit.
think that's only the second time you've done that today.
And it's because he called it out. Otherwise, I wouldn't have.
Well, the worst part about it is he got me doing it. Now he doesn't even do it anymore.
Yeah, how about that? That's crazy.
That's crazy.
See, it's
What
wild
an
how
influence.
it's wild how things like that happen here at the First Word desk. Will the Reds win in extras influence them to win more? That would certainly be nice as they try to get a series win in San Diego today. Man, oh man. I'm just glad we're not talking about a 6-game losing streak. Let's start there.
Yes.
But we could be talking about a series victory, which would be huge. The Reds 32-34 following last night's win. Sal Stewart with the game-winning 2-run home run in the 11th inning. And now Game 3 today, 4:10 on Reds TV. Man, oh man. One, I'm excited about the idea of winning a series. 2, they're going to be banking on their starting pitching, I think, to get it done. Chase Burns got it done yesterday. Andrew Abbott the day before put them in position. Today, well, it's Brady Singer. And Brady Singer's been rough for most of the year. I feel like he's trying to turn a corner, but I'm not sure. He's not singing the way I need him to sing.
I also love that this is a 4 o'clock start instead of the 9:40
That part is great.
start, and we can actually watch the whole game. But no, I mean, obviously you look at Michael King's numbers right there for the Padres. A little deceiving because his last 3 starts, he has given up a lot of runs. 4 earned runs, 5 earned runs, 4 earned runs in each of his last 3 starts. The Padres losing each one of those games. So if there's a time for this Reds to offense to kind of keep it going from what they had done yesterday in extras, this could be it. And I think especially when you have a guy like Brady Singer on the mound, you need as much run support as you can get.
Absolutely you do, and the Reds are going to be in a tough spot today, probably bullpen-wise. Last night, with an 11-inning game, certainly takes a lot out of your bullpen. You had Burke, Ferguson, Santillan, Mole, Antone, and Maxwell pitching last night. It's been the theme every time I've talked about Brady Singer. I'm not ever going to ask him to be a 2 earned run average guy or to be an ace of the rotation. He needs to get length. That's what he was brought here to do. At the end of the rotation, he's going to be a guy that you don't have to worry about pulling in the 4th or 5th inning. He's going to get you 6. He might even get you 7, and you're not going to have to worry about the bullpen. He'll keep the team in the game, and that's all he needs to do tonight. The Padres lineup has been really, really struggling, except for game 1 against Andrew Abbott and crew. Not particularly Abbott, but against the Reds pitching staff. So hopefully more of what we saw last night from the Padres and what we've seen over the last about 20 games or so, with the exception of game 1. Singer can get back on track a little bit, and the Reds can get a series win.
Singer hasn't gone more than 5 innings since May 6th, over a month.
Man, May 6th, yeah, that's wild. That's when Marisa and Jacob were celebrating, right around when they were celebrating May the 4th. That was a big day for Marisa.
I was not celebrating.
Lightsabers, and man, it feels like ages ago.
Cinco de Mayo was in there too, and that, you know.
Yeah, May the 5th be with you.
May the 5th be with you. With a margarita. Let's, the confidence level in Singer's low. And I'm the Singer guy.
You've been singing his praise?
I've been trying to will him back to where he was. Singing his praises, yes. That's my favorite. Clip it, Gabe. Or Aaron, or both. Gabe
Singer's
and Aaron.
praises was good.
It was. I can't praise him right now.
You try.
I want to believe that the back of the baseball card is what he still is. It's June 10th. It's 32-34. You've lost a series to the Royals, then you went on the road and got swept by the Cardinals, and now you're in position to get a series victory. Like, if he's going to turn it around, I said it going into his last start, like, if he's going to turn it around, you need to see it, and it didn't work against the Cardinals. It needs to work now. And if not, like, at some point they need to have a real conversation about, like, how he fits and where he fits. Because if he can't give you 5 innings every 5th day, especially on a getaway day, where your bullpen has gotten beat up, then I don't know why he's here. And that's a tough thing to say, but it's very, very true. And so June 10th, this needs to be the day we look back on as, hey, this is when Brady Singer started to turn it around.
In Brady Singer's final 11 starts of 2025, he went longer than 5 innings in 9 of those 11 starts. It wasn't even a question what kind of length Singer was going to give you.
You
didn't know what the runs
It wasn't a pencil in. You Sharpied it.
You knew he'd be out there for 5+ innings, and that couldn't be further from the case this year. And when you're a guy that doesn't have the best stuff, and is never going to have the lowest ERA, and is never going to have the lowest WHIP, you got to give that length. You have to find a way to stay in games, and that's the thing that Singer really has on his plate right now.
Yeah, and you look at just the numbers for this Reds rotation. You have Burns and Abbott, who have each gone 74 and 75 innings, and then Brady Singer's only pitched 55. Now, granted, it's a start or 2 less than those 2, but it's still a drastic difference.
It is. It is. He needs to be that guy.
Yeah.
And they need it now. And if there's a path to them turning it around, it involves Brady Singer being good or them finding someone else that can do it. And that's probably unlikely.
Someone else isn't coming anytime soon.
Yeah. Someone else isn't walking through that door that's going to do what they're paying him to do. It's a big game for Brady Singer tonight, or today rather, which is great. You're right. That's a very underrated part of this. Because condensed games are key when you do a morning show. And so, and they're on the West Coast. So get to watch a full game today. We will continue the Reds conversation. We'll get you set for Game 3, Reds-Padres. Make our prediction there. Make our finals prediction for Game 4 and much, much more coming up next right here on First Word.
on the radio here in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati has always felt like home.
Right here on the Crown Network.
Out and about in Cincinnati, bringing you these stories that you need to hear in the Queen City.
So he then gets back into the States, and that's when he hooks up with the Skyline family.
Well, they knew each other growing up.
Okay, yeah.
Down in downtown, and the Lamborghini's family, it wasn't corporate, it was their family and their recipes. Asked my dad if he'd be interested, and he leapt at it. He couldn't wait. He jumped at the opportunity.
Yeah, well, he's chef by trade, like you said, and now this opportunity
Loved the product, loved the simplicity of the product, loved the speed, loved all of it.
That's got to make it a lot easier when you really have a specific, belief and an enjoyment of the product itself. That probably helps with the plan there.
We loved cooking and eating, and he loved that concept. He loves Skyline's concept.
Yeah. Does the actual process of it, like you said, the ease with which it's, it may be easier to get something on the plate in front of people versus other types of restaurants, that played a role for him?
The simplicity of our concept is really special.
Yeah, and that's what's really sort of helped it take root, I think, over the years, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have kids?
Yes.
Are they also, I'm always interested in talking with people involved in various levels of business, whether it's a family business or something that they're looking to pass on. I mean, the idea of stewardship plays a big role. How does that look with your kids? Are they looking to move into?
The youngest is graduating from Ohio State, on Mother's Day.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. And he worked as an intern for a company in town and did not like office work.
Okay.
So he said, Dad, I think I want to do what you do. So he's going to be coming in at the ground level. You have to learn to crawl before you do the rest. So he will start and work with us and see where it takes him.
Well, I mean, that's how you came up, right? Being an 8-year-old wanting to follow Dad to work and
correct.
helping unload the trucks and everything.
Another rebound rundown update, this time for the Cincinnati Bearcats under first-year head coach Jared Calhoun coming over to Clifton from Utah State. And Jared Calhoun having to put together an entirely new roster this year for Cincinnati. Not a single returning player from last year's Bearcat team. Tylen Riley, the headline piece for this roster, a transfer in from Tulsa, the point guard of this group. Miles Colvin, a transfer from Wake Forest, somebody who has national championship game experience from his time at Purdue in that game against UConn. Tyler Tejada out of the CAA from Towson. Riley Allenspach from George Mason. Travion Carson, Jaden Hastings. Eric Mahaffey, the local product from Moeller. Spent his first year at Akron, now finds his way down to UC, plus 3 players who already have experience in Jared Calhoun's system from Utah State. That is a fantastic balance. You have to have a group that has played for a head coach before. Jared Calhoun has that. Much more coverage of the Bearcats on the Rebound Rundown. Stay tuned.
Hump day! Hump day!
Hump day?
There we go. 10:46. Let's go.
I said it might happen by end of show.
It took until 10:46 for Marisa to go hump day here on First Word. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning and making us a part of your day, Cincinnati. We are your morning sports show. Wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, well, 1, thank you. 2, here's how you can watch and listen, and you can take us with you on the go as well. Live on The Rock every weekday, 7 to 11. Live on YouTube, live on Facebook, live on X at First Word Cincy. You can listen live on Mixlr by searching Cincy Crown. You can check us out at cincycrown.com as well. And, of course, wherever you get your podcast, if you missed John Fanta, if you missed our discussion about Joe Burrow, well, all of that in podcast form. And so is the Rebound Rundown with Paul Fritchner, the Nat Jones Show, and the Working Lunch with Jack Cromley today at noon live right here on The Crown. Let's dive into a big day for the Cincinnati Reds. It involves Sal Stewart. I'm hoping he can build off of what happened last night.
And he's not the only one.
What a pleasant surprise it was to see that Sal Stewart hits the game-winning home run in San Diego, snaps a 5-game losing streak for the Reds, gets them to 32-34 on the season. And this conversation with Jim Day, you could tell he's just looking forward to today with hopes of winning the series. Here's Sal after the win.
How big of a moment was that for you, and particularly this team?
Yeah, you know, we've been having a lot of bad breaks, you know, and it's been kind of a rough stretch, but we're just trying to stick with it, you know. Sometimes I don't know why the man above gives us the challenges that he does, but I trusted him and I surrendered to him. Yeah, and it hasn't really been going well for myself either, you know. I've been down on a little stretch here, and I've been hearing the outside noise, you know, and it kind of motivated me a little bit, you know. I sometimes you need a little bit of that, and we all hear the outside noise, so it's nice to get a big win like this. Yeah, and on to tomorrow.
Were you hunting a particular pitch? I think you got a splitter that was left up.
No, I was just looking for a good pitch to hit, and I got one.
Rounding the bases, the emotion was pouring over into the dugout. What was that moment for you? Is that a type of sigh of relief? What's the elation like? Can you put it to words?
More just kind of a lot of frustration getting let out, and it was a big moment. I blacked out, you know, and yeah, I've been hearing what's been said about me, you know, when I've been going through a rough stretch. So it was nice to do that and show that, man, nothing's gonna faze me. You know, I'm built for this. I'm built to be in this moment. Jesus gives me all the strength. Like I try to tell you guys, when I go good and bad, I praise him all the time because he gives me all the strength. So I'm just happy that we got the win, and I'm excited for tomorrow.
Whatever it takes to have that chip. One last question. There were some big moments from your teammates. Blake Dunn with the catch in right field, and Zach Maxwell. That's a pretty big moment for him there.
Yep. For sure. I mean, those were great plays, and honestly, all around, we had such a great day. So it was a great team win, and I'm excited for tomorrow.
Excited for tomorrow. It's a big game. We're going to dive into it here in just a second. But as he's talking there, he mentions, I've been seeing everything that's being said about me. Don't. I want you to watch the show, but don't pay attention to social media. Social media is a pain. I literally have it in reading comments and doing all that stuff when you're struggling as a professional athlete is going to be tough. Don't do it. That's the only answer. And so this is one of the and baseball is a really, really long season. He's a rookie. There's going to be some ups and downs.
Yeah, exactly. And as he was giving that interview with Jim Day, and I heard him say that, I was like, it's not what I want to hear because of him being a rookie. And it's so easy to get into your head like that when you're going through a rough stretch, and let alone when you're listening now to what everyone else in the world is saying about your play and performance. So this is where I would love to have one of his veteran teammates kind of, you know, maybe take him aside, talk to him, be like, hey, like, don't let the outside noise get to you in that way, because it could absolutely have a negative downward spiraling effect.
You look at those stats. Let's just say he finishes with 25 home runs and 80 RBI.
Sign me up.
Yeah. Woo. That dog will hunt all day long. Sal, it's okay. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. But look at him. Like, that's not crazy to think.
No, it's not at all.
And so, for me, like, he started so hot, and then the slump. We don't even feel the slump if everybody else is doing what they should. The veterans.
Right.
Brady Singer, we're going to talk about him. Matt McLean has been bad overall. Tyler Stevenson has been bad overall. Eugenio Suarez. Guys that we thought, or the Reds either needed to do well or the Reds were banking on to do well. If those guys were doing that, we wouldn't even feel Sal's slump because it was such a house money thing. Because those guys have struggled and because of the way he started, expectations shifted in a big way. And maybe they just shouldn't have. And that's okay. That doesn't mean he's bad. He's still having a great rookie year.
Yeah, the pressure on Sal Stewart to do what he did to start this season throughout a whole 162 games falls squarely, in my opinion, on the front office and what they did this offseason to address the roster. The fact that we were talking through a 20-11 Reds team having two guys at that point that we really trusted offensively, being Elly De La Cruz and Sal Stewart, is insane. And when Sal can drop off a little bit in the ebbs and flows of a rookie season that I think everyone would expect, and the whole offense disappears, That is a very tough pill to swallow, and I'm sure that's why Sal is kind of in tune with what everyone's saying. I don't know that he expected this much pressure, and he shouldn't have it, quite frankly, for how much he means to this lineup. But the way he continues to handle himself, going up to the plate, taking professional at-bats, even when they aren't necessarily translating to base hits, doing interviews post-game that continue to love his forward mindset. I know he said he heard what everyone is talking about on social media. It's hard to avoid that stuff in 2026, especially when you're 22. You're spending a lot of time on your phone, I'm sure, on social media and things along those lines. You're going to stumble into it, especially when you're one of the most exciting young players in baseball. But Sal has been incredible this year, and I don't think there should be too much focus on any of these down spells when the overall numbers still look as good as they do.
If you're like Sal and you're on your phone, make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube at First Word Cincy. Over 5,000 of you already have. Hopefully we can get to 6,000 before Brady Singer hopefully gets to 6 innings today.
Okay.
That would be ideal if he could get into inning number 6. How are we feeling? Let's make our prediction. 1, does Brady Singer get to inning number 6 today? Into inning number 6. 2, do the Reds win and win the series in San Diego?
Into inning number 6, doesn't have to complete inning number
Correct.
6?
Through 5.
I'm going to say I'm high that he at least gets into the 6th inning, partially because I think they don't really have another choice. I mean, we talked a little bit last segment. Jacob rattled off just the number of guys that pitched in last night's game. The bullpen needs some kind of break. They need some kind of relief, and I think Singer's going to know that going into this one, and so he's got to put a little bit of the team on his back here and eat up some of those innings. So I'm going to say I'm extremely high and confident in him, doing that tonight.
I'm not. I'm not as confident in Singer. Certainly more confident in his length than the Reds winning tonight. But the bullpen's usage over these last 2 games, I think, puts them in an absolutely horrible spot going into today. And I think if they do, or if they are able to get the win today, it will be because Brady Singer went 6 innings or 5 2/3 or whatever it is. I think that is absolutely a must in order for the Reds to win today with where this bullpen's
So
at.
you're picking the Padres?
I am.
All right.
I'm going to take the Reds. I thought they would get the series win out there. I thought it was going to be games 1 and 2, but I don't know. After last night's late inning magic, maybe a little bit of momentum's kind of hit that clubhouse. So I'll take the Reds tonight.
I've been in the Singer corner all season that he was going to figure it out. This is your last chance, Brady. I'm taking the Reds.
Wow.
Last chance.
Ultimatums.
It's June 10th.
It's June 10th.
It's June 10th. Show me what you are, man. Go 6. Force us to leave the show with Brady Singer balling out.
7?
I would love that.
7?
8? 9?
No hits?
Okay, guys, let's reel it in here.
NBA Finals Game 4. Who you got?
Spurs.
Ooh, Knicks.
I am hoping that the Knicks win. Because I don't think they can win the series if they lose tonight. I think all momentum goes out the door. I get it. It's even and all those things. I think the Spurs have more talent. They have the best player. There's a lot going in their favor, but all that goes out the door, Knicks, if you get it done tonight. Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, I'm looking at you. Get it done. I'm reluctantly taking the Knicks tonight. They're going to get it done here and go up 3-1.
I think so,
love the
too.
under. 216.5, way too high. Only one of these games so far has gone over.
Also, I don't know how I feel. We're like opposite on both of these things. Usually we're aligned. I'm not really sure what's happening with the sides of the desk here. I don't think I like it.
Yeah, well,
it's weird.
Jacob wants to be wrong, that's all. We will be with you tomorrow. Make sure you check us out on YouTube, where we'll have the best of each and every show for you. And until next time, for Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Tissot, I'm James Rapien. Thank you so much for watching and listening to First Word.